Hello and welcome to episode 56 of the ABC podcast. My name is Alex and I am joined by Brandon Anatomy Park.
I am very pleased by that one. Good job, Alex. Very good job. It's a Rick and Morty reference in case.
Yeah, I was just going to leave it hanging there because I don't think I doubt that anyone who listens to this has seen Rick and Morty, but...
Yeah, just in case they're curious to see.
Yeah.
I would advise you to, watch Rick and Morty with caution, but watch Rick and Morty.
Yeah. Anyway, it is a lovely Saturday morning here in Houston, Texas.
It's too early, man.
It's like noon.
I don't get up on weekends till 3. I think we talked about this.
Probably. I don't know. At some point it all blends together,
True.
But yeah. So, how are finals?
Not too bad. Just trying to balance everything out all together. Aside from that, I'm going crazy, but really, what else is new?
Are you almost done? Like, you said you had 2 already. How many more do you have?
I have like 1.5. So I have 1 on Tuesday. And the half one, I have this video for my advanced production class. That's why we've been in another location so many times.
Side note, when we were doing the recording, we pointed out the airplane thing a couple of times, but then I was listening back to it. Like, there were a bunch that I didn't even notice. Yeah. It's ridiculous. So, sorry about that.
That was good. What was I saying? Yeah, so our first draft was due like 2 weeks ago, but we thought it was the final product. So he said, my teacher said, I'm going to look at it, write some critiques, give it to you guys so you can, rework your video a little bit. And I thought, okay, cool. Now I know exactly what he wants. Haven't gotten that back. Don't know when this video is due. The class has a group video, which has to be due some point. I don't know when. So I don't know when that's assignment. Like, I don't know when that's due, what's going to happen to it. I would like to hope that I got an A in the class, but, I don't know. So that's where I'm at, academically speaking. How are you?
I'm fine. I don't know, this last week flew by, so I don't even remember what happened.
It really did.
Looking for apartments in Syracuse, and by I mean Robin is. Contemplating moving out of my apartment now. Obviously I have to, but I'm in the planning stages because Robin's actively packing. Her lease is up for mine, so that's the majority of what's been occupying my thoughts lately is moving. And if you've ever moved, you should know that moving sucks. It's
I believe
one of the worst things ever.
I believe that. I also remember when I helped you move.
Yeah, that sucked.
Yeah.
But that's kind of mundane, so we should stop talking about it. So anyway, nothing to unbox this week. My DC box should be here, but I was running a little late when I left my apartment this morning, so I didn't go to the office to grab it. But that means it is time for our first segment, which is, of course, the ABCs of Geekdom. And it is the letter P this week, and my turn to pick. And I've decided that we're going to talk about Piccolo.
Okay.
From the Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Kai, Dragon Ball Evolution, Dragon Ball...
Now, which Piccolo are we talking
I'm just
about?
Kidding. Just Dragon Ball Z is the only one I've really watched. I've watched... I'm totally blinking on... What is it? No. GX is... from Yu-Gi-Oh! What's the one after where
Was
Goku...
it GT?
That's it, GT. I don't know why I blanked on that. Probably because most people try to block it out of their memory. Have you watched... How much Dragon Ball are you familiar with?
How much, just in general?
The whole franchise.
I'm pretty well knowledge with Dragon Ball.
But how much of it have you watched?
How much have I watched?
Yeah.
I've seen almost all the episodes of Dragon Ball.
Okay.
Most of Dragon Ball Z, I can remember seeing every single episode until the Buu saga when Vegeta fights Buu. Majin Buu.
You know, there's still like 100 episodes after that, right?
Yeah, I know. And I mean, I've sporadically like gone here and there to see what happens. I've seen some of the movies, old and new. I've seen a little bit of Dragon Ball Super, and I've seen a little bit of GT.
Okay,
and that's about it. So I mean, I'm okay with it. I'm not the best versed in Dragon Ball,
right?
But I know a good chunk of it.
Okay, so me personally, and we probably talked about this when we did our top anime because that was on both of our lists.
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah, it's like one of the greatest animes of all time. But anyway, so I've watched every single episode of Dragon Ball Z, and then for those who don't know, I used to work at the admissions office at my college, and when I was there, I got to sit there and watch cartoons while I did my work. So. Because Dragon Ball Z is the more well-known, I think in general, more highly regarded of the various series of Dragon Ball.
That, yeah.
I started with that one, and then I watched GT, and then after I got done with those, I went to go back and watch Dragon Ball. But it is very inappropriate. Like just like visually even. So I decided, I probably shouldn't watch this at work. So I watched I want to say 5-6 episodes of that. And then I haven't had a chance to go back and watch it yet. One day I will, but and I've seen all the movies. So yeah, that's our knowledge going into it. So Piccolo is the main big bad guy from the original Dragon Ball series. They call him the Demon King, because this is before they introduced the concept of outer space and the Saiyans and everything,
and then the Mechans.
Right, obviously. So they call him a demon. He's evil.
But they kind of justify calling him that because I'm sure you were gonna talk about it, but he's supposed to be the other half of Kami.
Right.
Yeah. So that's supposed to be all the bad essence. So technically, he kind of falls in the category of a demon.
Right.
Kind of.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So anyway, in one of the episodes, I don't know where in the timeline it falls, but he is about to die, and so he spits out this egg type of. It's basically an egg that's supposed to, when that body dies, a new version of him will hatch, and that's the Piccolo that we come to know in the Dragon Ball Z series, who is then kind of he's a good guy, but he's very, at first at least, he's doesn't care. He still antagonizes Goku, and then they team up to defeat Raditz, and
the worst scene ever.
Yeah. So they team up to defeat Raditz, and then after Goku's dead, he takes Goku, essentially Gohan, essentially kidnaps him, takes him to train him, and the two of them start to bond, and after I think they call it the Saiyan Saga, where Vegeta and Nappa come and Goku kills both of them, he kills both of them.
No, he kills.
Oh no, yeah, he doesn't kill Vegeta. He doesn't kill Nappa either. Anyway, after Vegeta and Nappa are defeated, that's when Piccolo starts to integrate himself with the Z Warriors. I think that's what they call them. And
although technically he did, kick the bucket after that fight.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. Prior to that, we find out a couple other things. So he has this special move called the Special Beam Cannon.
Yeah.
Which I don't know it off the top of my head. I'll have to look it up for next week. But the Japanese translation is something even more ridiculous than Special Beam Cannon.
Oh, really?
It's a really cool name, but it's really weird.
Of course it is.
He has the ability to grow back limbs, instantly. Wolverine has the ability to do that, and so does Deadpool, as we see in the movie with the little baby hand. But with Piccolo's power, it just shoots out of his body. It takes a second for him. He has to concentrate on it, but then it's just instantly back there. So I feel like that could come in handy.
Is that supposed to be a pun, or?
It wasn't, but it is now.
You're welcome.
yeah, so anyway, then Piccolo dies, and then they have to go to the planet Namek. And honestly, I don't even remember why at this point.
Dang, I forgot. You're right. I'm trying to like think back to a bridge because I remember everything from a bridge.
I mean, it has. I think it has something to do with the Dragon Balls.
I think so because when he died after the Sand Saga, Kami went away too.
Right.
So I think they went to Namek to get those Dragon Balls to help bring them back.
Yeah. Right. So they go to planet Namek and they meet a bunch of characters. They meet
Little Green.
What's the big guy's name? Like the king or the leader or whatever.
Oh, Guru?
Yeah, that's right. And they meet Nail. And yeah, so we find out that the Dragon Balls are actually a creation of the Namekians. And we find out that in addition to the Earth Dragon Balls, which summon Shenron, the dragon, they have another set of Dragon Balls which are significantly larger than the Earth Dragon Balls. And they also summon Purunga, the dragon, who, now that I think about it, I also could have talked about, but Piccolo's good too.
Yeah.
So
I think there's more to talk about with Piccolo.
Yeah, definitely. So, Namek, things happen. Frieza tries to blow up the planet, takes 10 episodes to do it. And so the planet finally explodes, but they manage to get all the Namekians off the planet, taken back to Earth. Frieza, quote, dies. Then they have 2 sets of Dragon Balls because they use the Namekian Dragon Balls to wish everyone back to life, including Kami and Piccolo and Krillin and Yamcha.
Doesn't Vegeta come back too?
Probably. Nah. I mean, he does eventually. I don't remember. So, they have two sets of Dragon Balls, and the Namekians are around for a while, and then they finally find them a new planet to live on. They take them all there. But Piccolo stays on Earth because that's like the only home he's ever known, so he's more comfortable there than with his own people, I guess. Oh, that must have happened after the Cell Saga. No, wait. No. Oh, yeah, because... So another thing we find out about the Namekians is that they can fuse together, basically. Like, it's not really a fusion in the sense that they do fusions later in the show. It's like an absorption, I guess. So, like, there's this one warrior called Nail, I think he's the strongest fighter out of the people from Namek. And he's, like, dying, I think, and he says to Piccolo, absorb me, then you'll have my power, you'll be, like, twice as strong. So he does that. And I don't remember if this happens in the show, but in Dragon Ball Z Abridged, then like Nail, like his consciousness remains, and they like share a brain, and it's really funny.
Which is funny because when that happens with Kami, now there are 3 minds in Piccolo's head. And sometimes it's funny because, I guess jumping ahead, you know when Piccolo he fights Cell and they think he dies. And then so Piccolo's like, he's like unconscious while he's like drowning in the water. Right. And Nail and Kami are just like talking about like, well, this is the end. Nothing we can do. Yeah. Like, can we like neither of us really like control this body? Like, nope.
So, yeah. Anyway, that's all the Piccolo we really need to know about. I mean, like, you know, he goes on to help Trunks and Goten learn the fusion dance. That takes a really long time, and that's like the most major contribution that he makes to the show. Yeah,
because he used to be a big part, and now he's
because they add so many more characters that he kind of gets shoved to the side a little bit, which is, I mean, it makes sense. You know, it becomes much more centered around Goku and his family and Vegeta and his family, which is, you know, fine. Like I like that aspect. So, but I really do like Piccolo's story arc. You know, even though I don't know what happens in Dragon Ball too well, like I do know that at the beginning of Dragon Ball Z, they are necessary allies, like it's the enemy of my enemy type of thing. And then, you know, after he starts spending time with Gohan is when he becomes like, he starts to learn human feelings, which is funny because Gohan is only half human. But he starts to, you know, he bonds with them, and because he bonds with him, he realizes he has stuff in common with Goku, and from there, you know, they become, you know, allies in battle, and from there they become friends, and they learn to drive together, and they go.
That was a funny episode.
It was a stupid episode.
It was hilarious.
No, I love it. But it's so pointless.
Pretty much.
You know, they go traipsing throughout space together to help one another, and they become friends, and it's very touching. It's very, you know, not to get overly sentimental about an anime, but it, you know, it's
it makes sense.
It is a very satisfying character growth to see on screen. What else? So he wears this weird turban and this weird cape. We should actually talk about like Namekian physiology.
Okay.
So they're green.
Yeah. They have little antennas on their heads.
Yes.
What did you say?
In Dragon Ball Z, they joke about them being,
I think it's abridged.
Yeah, I think it is abridged. They joke about them being plants, basically.
Oh, yeah, they do that, and also calling them slug people.
Oh,
because
he calls them a Yoshi. Like before they even encounter Raditz the first time.
It's like, so you're basically like Yoshi? It's like, what? You're basically a Yoshi.
Yeah.
It's not, you know, it's not the most correct thing. It's not wrong 100%.
Yeah.
Like we said, they can grow back their limbs.
Right. They need very little food and water to sustain themselves, which is good because there's not a lot of vegetation on Namek, which is probably why they ended up inhabiting that planet. Yeah. Oh, so yeah, that's kind of what Piccolo looks like. So he wears this turban and this cape, and then he has like a green, or not green, purple, like
tunic.
Yeah. And these like pointy shoes.
Yeah.
We find out in Dragon Ball Z, like one of the first episodes, that the cape and the hat are weighted to help him in his training with, you know, resistance and that kind of thing. Like the same reason that baseball players will put weights on their bat so that it's heavier when you swing it. So then when it's regular weight, it's easier to swing.
I remember he actually threw his turban one time at a bad guy, and he couldn't carry it. And he also hit a bad guy in the face with his turban, and he knocked him out.
Dang, that's messed up. What else to say about Piccolo? That's basically it. I mean, I can't really think of anything.
I'm trying to think of it because I feel bad because a lot of what I remember is from the abridged.
Right.
Do you think he gets like nerfed a lot?
Like in terms of his power level?
Yeah, I feel like he does. I mean, granted, like we said, like they always bring in new characters, but
right?
While they do that, they also bring these characters that just grow more in their like power level. Yeah. And I remember when Kami was first introduced, they thought that he was like a god. Mm-hmm. Turns out it wasn't quite. I mean, it was. Yeah, the term god is debatable in Dragon Ball.
Yeah, seriously.
But after he fused with Kami, you know, his power level increases so much that he's able to take on the androids. And we're watching like, okay, maybe he can defeat an android. It's more like a draw when he fights Android 18. Mm-hmm. And then when Cell comes around, he just gets the crap knocked out of him.
Right.
And then I thought about, what was the point of all those fusions if this still happens?
That's not when the fusions.
I mean, you know, like when he absorbed.
Right.
Or when he fused with Kami.
Right.
I thought, why? And like you know, we said, from then on, he's more of a supporting character. So he'll help out. He'll have his own, you know, cool moments when he shows up. He always shows up and he's like all cool looking with the cape flowing around. And then maybe 15 minutes into the main battle, he gets knocked out.
Yeah. I don't know, like, it's been said a lot about Dragon Ball Z that power levels are essentially meaningless in the end. And, you know, at the beginning, you know, the whole it's over 9,000 thing, you know, they make a huge deal about that. It's one of the oldest memes in existence. Mm-hmm. That's actually probably not true. It's one of the oldest internet memes in existence. But towards the end of the series, like, they don't even really refer to power levels with, you know, a numerical statistic attached to it. You know, they'll say he's very powerful, he's more powerful than anyone we faced before, but as far as like his power level is, you know, 10 million or whatever, that they don't really do that. But the thing about the Saiyans is that their power is constantly increasing. Like, there's no maximum for them to achieve, which we see visually represented very well in the Super Saiyan forms. You know, first we have Super Saiyan, then Super Saiyan 2, we see the electricity crackling. Super Saiyan 3, they have the super long hair and the weird eyebrows.
They don't have any eyebrows.
It's so
weird.
Right? Then Super Saiyan 4, you know, we get the black hair with the monkey tail and the red glow and everything. Then we have Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan God. What is it? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about,
hair?
but I don't remember.
Oh man, but you know what I mean. Like, we see their a visual representation of how powerful they are because of those transformations, and even in their base forms, like, they're constantly becoming stronger. Because for those who don't know, and I know there's a term, like a Saiyan term for this, but I don't know it off the top of my head. But every time they're defeated or are brought to the point of death, once they recover, their power level will increase, like, by a certain percentage or like a certain multiplier. So they're constantly getting stronger. They have no limit for how strong they can get. But Piccolo, you know, he has a maximum. Same with Krillin or Yamcha or
I don't know
Tien.
I don't know if we should talk about Yamcha.
Yeah, probably not. Or Master Roshi.
Poor Yamcha.
Yeah, poor Yamcha. You know, they all have limits to their power, but the Saiyans, it's infinite. Or Goku, at least, for sure is. I mean, you know, Vegeta, we see him ultimately achieving the same forms that Goku does. It just takes him longer to get there. Okay, last thing that I want to say about Piccolo is that he has the best theme music out of any character in that show.
You know what? I will agree with you on that.
I love that song so much. I have it on my phone, and every time I don't listen to a lot of music anymore, but whenever I do listen to it, like, I'm always like, yeah.
You know, we should play that music out loud when I help you move out.
Okay.
Help us get hyped, so, you know.
Okay. We can do that.
We can pretend we're actually strong when we move your stuff.
Okay. So yeah, that's all I have to say about Piccolo.
It's a good choice. I like him.
Yeah. Okay, actually, last thing.
Okay.
Who's your favorite Dragon Ball Z character?
Who's my favorite Dragon Ball Z character?
And just to mix it up, I'll take Goku out of the running because he's probably most people's favorite character.
Yeah.
Although he gets on my nerves a lot because he's so dumb.
Really, I like the fact he's so dumb.
Nah, it gets annoying.
Because a lot of, you know, protagonists in animes, they're just, you know, always really cool or just super powerful.
Yeah.
I like the fact that he's pretty stupid.
Yeah. No, he's really stupid.
You know what? For me, it's a tie between Master Roshi and Beerus.
Okay.
I really like Beerus.
Beerus is alright.
Really? I really like him.
Yeah.
Mostly because, you know, he's a god of destruction.
Right.
But he really doesn't care about anything except eating and sleeping. And I thought, I relate to this character so much. If I was a god, I would totally want to be a god of destruction. And for him, destruction just means, like, it's equivalent to pressing backspace on your keyboard.
Right.
He doesn't see anything morally against it or wrong with it. And in a way, if you take yourself out of that, like, context into, like, a godly level, it kind of makes sense because he's trying to bring balance to the universe. So things have to come and go. And I thought, it's kind of a dark way to see things, but it's also, or maybe not dark, maybe nihilistic. But it's really cool. And the fact that he just eats and sleeps, I just love it. Because that's what he did for most of the time when he's on Earth. He just finds new things to eat.
Yeah.
I mean, basically the reason for Battle of the Gods is because it was fought over the fact that he didn't get any pudding.
Yeah.
Which is really, really stupid. But
I didn't like that movie.
But I thought it was hilarious. So, yeah. Also, I don't know. He's a cool character to me.
Yeah. I don't really care for Master Roshi too much because he's like the obligatory anime old pervy man.
Yeah.
Which, like, it's a cultural difference. I get that. It just doesn't really resonate with me. Like, I could do without that.
Yeah,
And they play it down a lot in the dubs.
Oh my god, you have no idea how much the dub changed things.
No, but even then, like, I feel like
yeah,
it's a lot.
but like they, oh my goodness.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous.
But I also like Roshi because that was like kind of the first time Western audiences were introduced to that kind of archetype.
Mm-hmm.
Because usually it's just been like this really noble old guy who's really training the martial arts.
Right.
And he's like always wise, always calm. And we meet Roshi and he's like the exact opposite of it.
Yeah.
He's never really calm. He has his wise moments.
Yeah.
But for the most part, he's a really old, pervy guy.
Yeah.
Who gets nosebleeds a lot.
Taking away that aspect, I actually do like Master Roshi a lot because of what you just said. Like, he has those moments of wisdom. He's a very powerful warrior. Like, I like it when he just gets super buff all of a sudden. Yeah. It's hilarious.
Did you ever see Resurrection F?
Yeah.
So he has this moment where he actually he actually contributed to the fight.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my god, that's so cool. Granted, like, he goes back to the small version of himself, but he actually took out a lot of Frieza's army, which is really cool. Plus, he taught Goku the Kamehameha wave,
right?
Which, I mean, is his signature move.
Yeah. He also has a really funny voice.
He does. I don't know how to describe it.
My favorite character, other than Goku, probably Trunks.
Okay.
I do like Vegeta a lot because he's kind of a stereotype of the very edgy, very edgy character who's doesn't care about anything until it really comes down to it, but cares for Bulma, cares for his son. He cares about beating Goku, being more powerful than him
all the time.
So I do like him, but Trunks, I mean, the first time we see Trunks is when Mecha Frieza comes in.
That's
and
right.
It's just it's so funny to me because we see Goku, who is older than Trunks at that point, even though he's from the future and all that jazz. We see we see Goku on Namek taking however long, and not just Goku, everybody is trying to defeat Frieza. They can't do anything to him. Then we see Trunks come in, and in the matter of 30 seconds, he slices into pieces and blasts him, and that's the end of Frieza.
Yeah.
For another 300 episodes or whatever, and that's awesome. Okay, so that is really and truly the end of our Dragon Ball Z discussion, which means that now we get to do some corrections.
Yay!
Ah,
see,
that was for you.
Thank you.
All right, so first correction actually comes to us from a listener, Kenzie.
Nice.
So not this last episode, but the episode before we were talking about the schedule for upcoming Disney movies out until 2022, I think. So one of the movies that they mentioned was A Wrinkle in Time, which I had said was an original story idea by Disney. However, Kenzie pointed out to me that this was based off of a novel written by an author named Madeleine L'Engle. Published in 1963. I looked at the plot summary a little bit. I don't want to spoil it for myself in case I ended up, when the trailer comes out, I decide I want to see this movie. But it has something to do with time travel. But one thing that I did pick up from this plot summary, or the first couple paragraphs that I read, is that she introduces the concept or the term Tesseract.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know if this is the first time that the word Tesseract was ever used in fiction, but she definitely has it, and it's essentially a wormhole that is a time portal.
Nice.
Yeah. So that was interesting. So thank you, Kenzie. Second thing here is we were talking about the Oregon Trail last week, and I was talking about, I mentioned a couple other educational computer games, and I said Master Blaster, which is not what I was thinking of. That is a video game. It's essentially a shooter survival game. It's a shooting game. Your goal is to survive. It's a team deathmatch kind of thing, I think. The game that I was thinking of is called Math Blasters, which is about this spaceman and his little alien companion, and you're traveling around space doing various mathematical operations to I don't know if you're just trying to explore or save somebody or something or what, but that's that's what Math Blasters is. My mom got me to play it, and even though I hated math and still do hate math,
It's okay. Me too.
you know, it was better than just sitting there trying to memorize my times tables. So, you know how it goes. Okay, next thing is we were talking about space. Because I was doing some corrections about Naboo. Now, I asked Neil deGrasse Tyson if he wanted to be on our podcast, and he said he was busy this week.
Wait, you actually asked him?
No.
I don't know. Maybe you told me you asked him on Twitter, and he replied.
No, I didn't.
He's active on Twitter, so that's why I was like really surprised.
No, I didn't even want to waste his time with my stupid request. Anyway, so I did some research. Based on the technology that we have now, NASA and other space organizations throughout the world, they cannot say with certainty if there is a solid core underneath Jupiter.
Okay.
They hypothesize it's certainly possible, but they don't know that for certain. But even if there wasn't, you could not fly a spacecraft straight through the planet because, like you were saying last week, the gases that are there are so dense that you wouldn't be able to make it through. Which is the article that I was reading acknowledges this is very it's kind of hard for us to wrap our brain around because the makeup of our atmosphere is so not dense compared to what they have on Jupiter, that it's kind of hard for us to consider that. But the gravity on the planet is so heavy because it is such a large mass that the gas is super densely compact. So I don't know, I thought that was interesting.
No, it really is.
Oh, and the reason that the planet stays together even though it is all gas is because of the super dense gravity of the planet. Okay, so we were talking about Wonder Twins last week, and I mentioned that they were originally introduced into the cartoon Super Friends. And I was mentioning how, basically every season of Super Friends was called something different because I guess they like confusing people. I don't know. So anyway, the original was called Super Friends. That ran from 1973 to 74. Then was the all-new Super Friends Hour, which ran from 77 to 78. Then there was Challenge of the Super Friends, which ran from 78 to 79. Then World's Greatest Super Friends from 79 to 80. Then Back to Super Friends from 1980 to 1983. Then Super Friends, the Legendary Superpowers Show from 84 to 85. Then the Superpowers Team, Galactic Guardians, which completely drops the Super Friends title to begin, altogether. So I don't even know why that's considered part of the Super Friends canon, but whatever. And that last season ran from 1985 to 1986. Yeah.
Nice.
Also, other thing is that I mentioned the members of the members of the Super Friends that we are familiar with. So in addition to Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, there's also Robin and Aquaman.
Okay.
As well as the Wonder Twins and the kids from the first season who were named Wendy and Marvin, and their dog's name was Wonder Dog. Next correction here is that I said that Marvin, the kid, was voiced by the same guy who voices Shaggy in the show. However, that's actually not correct. He was voiced by Frank Welker. What I was thinking of was Robin was voiced by the guy who voices Shaggy.
Oh, okay.
His name was Casey Kasem. He passed away in 2014, which was actually when I was watching Super Friends at the time, which was kind of sad.
It's okay, Alex.
Yeah. Alrighty. Next correction here is that the human body is made up of 60% water. Now,
totally off.
I can't remember why we were talking about this, but I don't know. So there's this comic strip called Foxtrot.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know that.
Yeah, if I had to pick a favorite, and it would be tough, but if I had to pick a favorite, I'd probably say Foxtrot is my favorite. So it's about this typical suburban family and just kind of the hijinks that they got up to. So they have 3 kids. The oldest one's name is Peter, then the middle her name is Paige, and then the youngest is named Jason. And so the 2 oldest kids are in high school, and Jason's in middle school. But there's this one strip where I think it's Peter. he's cramming for finals, and he's like, I read that the human brain is like 80% water, and so I figured if I chug a ton of water, that my brain will get bigger and I'll be smarter and I'll do better in my finals. And so the last strip is like his head like blown up to like 5 times its normal size, and he's like, I guess I didn't really think this out too well.
There was another one when it was Calvin Hobbes, and Calvin, you know, he always has these imaginary scenarios, and so he was just drinking a cup of water. It's just like, oh my god, what have I done? And he starts talking to himself like, you know, in the comic strip, I think it's I want to say they changed it to 70%.
Yeah, I think so.
But he said, you know, oh my goodness, like the human body is usually composed of 70% water, but Calvin has gone ahead and done the impossible, and he's changed himself into 80% water. So he begins to melt into water.
He just turns into a puddle.
And then he says that in order to survive, he needs to find a cup of water to put himself into, or else he'll evaporate. And the whole point of that was because it showed at the final panel of that strip, he has to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can't hold it anymore. And his parents are trying to rush to a gas station.
I also love Calvin and Hobbes.
It's so good. So good.
Okay, next correction here is we were talking about the Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, how they replaced the assists with the Infinity blanks, because I couldn't remember if they called them stones or gems. I don't remember if we really discussed this last week. We probably did when we did the Infinity Gauntlet for our ABCs of Geekdom. Basically, this story is that in the original versions of the comics, they introduced them as the Infinity Gems, and then in the MCU, they start calling them Infinity Stones for some inexplicable reason. I wish they just stayed consistent, but
I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of okay with it. Maybe they just didn't want to sound like too like, I don't know, prissy, like, oh, we gotta find these gems and everything. Stones sounds a little bit more, I guess.
But there's this old Dreamcast game series, which they then adapted into an anime called Power Stone, which is also the name of one of the stones. So when you Google Power Stone, like, it's confusing as to which one you want. Anyway, so in this game, because the character designs and everything are based off of their models, or are based off their counterparts from the MCU, they do call them Infinity Stones in the game. Another thing is that when I was looking this up, is that there's basically a gauge in the fights that will fill up, either probably as you do damage, which is called I don't know if the gauge itself is called this or the attack, but it's called an Infinity Storm, which is basically a souped up power that the regular stone would normally have. So, for example, the Space Stone, which we were talking about last week, when you use it as its like normal assist, its effect is to draw your opponent closer to you, so that if they're trying to keep their distance, you can use the Space Stone and it'll bring them to you so that you can start doing damage to them. The Infinity Storm version of the Power Stone is what creates the box that we were talking about last week. So I feel like they didn't do a good job of explaining that in that one trailer.
No, they didn't, because it just showed everybody using the power. Right. It didn't really like tell you what was going on.
Which, I mean, is fine. Like, it was a very short trailer. Yeah. They're just trying to show off some cool shots and everything, but I'm glad we clarified that. Okay, next thing is we were talking about Alien vs. Predator. And we're talking about Sebastian. So the actor who plays Sebastian, his name is Raul Bova. I think that's how you pronounce that name. It's like the Hispanic name Raul, but with an O. So I would say Raul, but I don't really know. Anyway, he is Italian. Okay. So I also looked on the it's called Xenopedia, which is the Wikia dedicated to Alien and Predator, those franchises. Cool. I looked up his character background. They had a lot more information than was in the movie. Like, there was something about he wrote this academic paper hypothesizing that a different pharaoh ordered the building of the pyramids than what most scholars think, and he was like ostracized from the archaeological community or some crap, and so he took on this. He had a vendetta against them, and he decided to go to Egypt to try and find evidence to prove them all wrong and whatever. And so when we see him at the beginning of the movie, how he's digging up this thing and he finds this bottle cap, and the guy comes and tells him he doesn't have any more funding. Like, that's the backstory for that archaeological expedition. Although I don't think they were in Egypt for that scene.
I don't remember.
Whatever. Anyway, so there's all this backstory, but in none of that could I find anything that said he was born in Italy, like his parents were archaeologists or anything like that. Like in the, like in Wikipedia, how they have like on a person's, like on regular Wikipedia for a person, they'll have information like when they were born, where they were born, who they're married to, that kind of thing, like in a little sidebar.
Yeah.
They have that, like that essential information, like at the top of the page, and it says his nationality is Italian, but it didn't give any information besides that. So we're just gonna go with the fact that he was born and raised and is from Italy. Okay, next thing is we were talking about how the main character in Alien vs. Predator, her name was Alexa, not Alexis, like we thought. And you mentioned that Jasmine has an Amazon Echo. And I didn't actually ask Jasmine this. I asked Robin, who confirmed that she does in fact have the Echo, but she doesn't use it. So unfortunately, our whole joke about Kenzie listening to the podcast and activating the Echo when we said Alexa probably won't happen, unfortunately. But we can hope. Okay, next thing is we're talking about Christopher Nolan, because we watched the trailer for Dunkirk. We were talking about other movies he's directed. So, I said that Memento was his first directorial work, but that's actually not true. So he directed 3 short movies prior to that, and then a movie called Following, then Memento, then a movie called Insomnia, and then, I forget if I said this last week or not, but he directed a movie called The Prestige.
I think you mentioned it.
I think so, but I wanted to be sure. Side note, The Prestige is an awesome movie. Super recommended. Oh, it's so good. I never get tired of watching that movie. One caveat is that they're British. Like, it's set in England, so I would recommend watching it with subtitles, just in case
you don't want to get lost.
Right. Because there's some kind of thick accents in that movie. But other than that, love it. Next thing is we watched 2 weeks ago. We watched the trailer for The Defenders, or no, actually that was last week. We watched the trailers for The Defenders, and I was wondering what the release date for said show will be, and it is August 18th.
Okay. Wow. Okay, it gives me like 2 months to watch everything I need to watch.
I believe in you.
Thank you.
It's only 39 episodes.
Each an hour long.
Yeah. Unless you want to watch Daredevil again, which would be 65.
For somebody who doesn't like math, you're pretty good at it.
Thanks. I'm also not 100% sure that's right.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, I was right. Anyway, this is not a math podcast. Next thing is we talked about the inductees to the National Video Game Hall of Fame, and GTA 3 was this year? No, it was another year. Anyway, Grand Theft Auto 3 is in the National Video Game Hall of Fame, and I was mentioning how that was the one that really revolutionized the gameplay for that series. I said that the first 2 games were like 2D or isometric view, but it is 2D, but it's a top-down view. Like, you're looking at your character like walking the streets from like a high vantage point, essentially. Okay, next thing is I gave a hot take on Better Call Saul last week.
Yeah.
And I said that Better Call Saul is very distinct from Better Call Saul. What I obviously meant to say was that Better Call Saul is very distinct from Breaking Bad, which is where some of the characters are from. Okay, then I gave another hot take on King of Kong, which was released in 2007. So,
was that a correction or a clarification?
both, I guess. I didn't know when it was released. I was
Okay.
saying I didn't know. So it's been 10 years. So yeah, like I said, I think it could use an update, just with, how the game has evolved. Well, not the game, like how the high score community has evolved since the movie came out and where it stands now, and maybe a little interview with the world record holder now. Because like I said, the guy who holds the world record is not even mentioned in this movie. You should do that for your like senior project. You should interview him.
For my senior project?
Yeah, don't you have to do that?
No.
Oh, well, because I remember that Eugene did that movie about Jonathan that I never saw.
He did it like an independent study.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay.
See, if I did, I would like to do mine on the coverage of memes, and
Of
how
course you would.
and how I want to like cover memology and how it's grown into this thing. Like, you know how
So you want to work for Know Your Meme? Is that what you're saying?
No, know your meme is
What?
they don't even cover that. I'm kidding.
I love Know
But
Your Meme.
like, you know how recently the new SpongeBob meme has been going
Oh my
around,
gosh.
the chicken SpongeBob or the
Yes.
mocking SpongeBob. I don't even remember what episode that was from, but seeing how quickly it just evolved and just grew and grew and grew, like, and I want to look into like how a meme is created that way and what it takes for the meme to kind of pick up speed and influence on the internet.
I feel like that's what a marketing department is paid to do,
Right.
is to try and it's so hard to manufacture that. It's
No,
almost,
you're
almost
right.
impossible.
You're right,
Really.
and that's what memes accomplish without even intentionally trying.
Mhm.
Like, sometimes I'll know about this obscure piece of news just from a meme, and then I have to go and look it up. I'm like, oh my god, this is actually true.
Did you see that thing yesterday where Melissa McCarthy was writing?
I heard
New
about
York
it. I
City?
haven't seen it, but like, she's like, because she's dressed up as Sean Spicer,
Uh-huh.
right? The press secretary for the White House right
Yeah.
now, and she's just like, she has like a mobile podium, and she's like going through the streets of New York like that. So good.
This is the world we live in now.
I'm okay with it. No, I'm not okay with it.
Oh my gosh! Did you see that The Rock is considering running for president?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
I know this is not the place for me to get up on my high horse and
Yeah.
rant about the state of this country. I also know that I don't really have a lot of room to speak on, but God, I will lose it if he runs for president.
I'd be more okay with him than what we have currently.
Look, I'm not a fan of Trump at all,
Right.
but if people, okay, I guess we're going to do this.
Okay.
If people think that Trump running for president and winning the presidency means that anybody can become president, if The Rock thinks that he is in any way qualified to be the president of this country just because Trump is, that is the biggest load of BS I've ever heard in my life. Because then in a few years, we're just going to see the presidential election devolve into nothing better than American Idol, where you don't go to a polling booth to cast your vote. You call in to ABC to say, I want to vote The Rock for president, or I want to vote for Kanye. That's what it's going to become, is a reality TV show. And
I feel like that's already what it is now.
you're not wrong. Like, it's close to that, but it has some semblance of democracy.
You're right, but in a way, everything you just said, that kind of takes some democracy too. Granted, it's in a very, very lower tier, but
Yes.
still.
No,
like,
you're right. I know that, but come on. Just
I mean, think
seriously,
about it.
like-
Though. Think about it. If The Rock does campaign, his song every time he's on stage is "You're Welcome." Do you want to take a minute?
no.
Are you sure?
Yes.
We can take a minute.
I'm not one of those people. Texas should secede from the union, but honestly, if we get another celebrity as a president, then I'm gonna secede.
I mean, you're gonna be up north. At
I
this
know.
point.
I know.
I don't think that qualifies.
There was just one episode of Family Guy where Peter finds out that his house, like just his house, is not on the Quahog map, like it's unincorporated territory or something.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh my
and
gosh.
so because of that, like he legally, like he can secede from the country, and I'm sure that's not how it works in real life, but in this fictional cartoon world, he secedes from the country, so he names it like Peter Land or whatever. He becomes the emperor or something, and it's really dumb. So
it's like his fence is the border.
Yeah, I'll look into that as an option if The Rock becomes president. Okay, let's move on here. So then we talked about Teen Titans: The Judas Contract, and we mentioned how there was Beast Boy at the beginning of the movie, and then modern day Beast Boy. Mm-hmm. And I looked into it as much as I possibly could, and I could not find, I couldn't even find anybody that acknowledged that. It was like, this is kind of weird, or this is why there are two Beast Boys, or yeah, Beast Boy doesn't age. Like, he's always in the Teen Titans. He doesn't do anything else with his life.
Okay.
You know what I mean.
That's kind of harsh. He goes out and risks his life every day.
No, yeah, he does. But I'm saying that, like,
I know what you mean.
Dick Grayson, he's Robin, he's in the Teen Titans. He eventually gets older, he becomes Nightwing, he moves out on his own, he comes back to lead the Teen Titans, along with Starfire.
So that means basically he does nothing with his life either. He came back to where he started.
Yeah, but as a leader. Whereas Beast Boy is, still operating under the assumption that it's the same Beast Boy. Yeah. He's still there. He's still just a team member, not one of the senior members. Mm-hmm. He's hitting on Tara, who is, a teenager, whereas it would appear that he is God knows how old. It's kind of weird. I guess. Anyway, one thing that I found out about Beast Boy that I didn't know before this was that in the original comics, he was the child of two, zoologists or biologists or something, and they were living in Africa, and he contracted this disease which only this rare form of monkey, which happens to have green fur, a rare species of monkey rather, is immune to. So his parents create this serum which transforms him into a monkey for 24 hours. Once he's this monkey, the virus dies. He transforms back into a human, but he has green skin and hair and everything, and he can now transform into any animal that he wants at will. Which is a very dumb origin story. I love Beast Boy, but that is really dumb. Okay, then we talked about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 for a long, long time. So, the character played by Sylvester Stallone in that movie, his name is Stakar Ogord.
Okay.
Not Starhawk.
I don't know.
No, I can see where you get that, yeah.
Just trying to see what I could, think of.
And then Yondu's first mate, his name is Kraglin.
Okay.
And also, I don't know if you might know this, but the actor's name is Sean Gunn, and he is the younger brother of James Gunn. Yeah, I was gonna say Jim, but Jim. Yeah, which is a form of James. But anyway, so yeah, that's cool. And then final correction for this week is we had our fanfic fights between Han Solo and Chewbacca versus Rocket Raccoon and Groot, and I was saying how Wookiees are the masters of trees because they live on a very lush planet and make their homes out of trees, and you said that the Wookiees revere and almost worship trees because they use them so much or whatever, but that's not true.
It's not true.
Couldn't find anything anywhere to back that up.
Let me look where I heard that.
Okay.
I'll come back to you on that.
Fair enough.
Because they mention it in Republic Commando.
So, okay.
Let's see.
Well, then, pending that correction, that is it for this week. So, we're going to take our break. Gonna watch a few trailers, and then we'll be back to talk about some more nonsense. Hopefully not politics, because that never ends well.
Yeah.
But we'll be right back. Okay, we are back. So we've got just a few trailers to talk about again this week. It's basically summertime now, so all of the blockbusters, we've seen pretty much all of the trailers that we're going to see for them at this point, I think. We might get another Spider-Man trailer.
I think so.
But
I saw a new one in theaters.
Really?
Yeah.
Because when I went to go see Guardians, I saw the same one that we saw.
I mean, it was basically the same, but they had like extra footage in it. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm thinking about Thor Ragnarok.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was some extra scenes in that one. Sorry. I knew it was a Marvel movie. I just had them mixed up. Apologize.
I was reading, and I didn't realize it. This is the first year that we're going to get 3 MCU movies in the same year. Yeah, well, because, Spider-Man is MCU, but it's not made by Marvel. I think that's the reason why.
I didn't realize it because at this point I just stopped counting. Yeah. And I thought, if it's coming out, it's coming out.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. Like, I honestly didn't realize that this was the first year.
Yeah, because after a while, when you just keep counting and expecting them, I just thought, that's too much stress on me.
Well, yeah, because another thing I realized was that our friend Eugene, who's been on the show before, earlier this week, he mentioned me in a comment about how, I forget which website it was, but they put out a new list ranking all the MCU movies, including Guardians 2. And I realized that there are only 15 movies, which is weird. It feels like so much more, right? Yeah. But I mean, I guess that's because, like, subconsciously I also include, like, the X-Men movies and Deadpool and Blade and all those.
Which is understandable.
Yeah. But, it's only 15 MCU movies. And it's only, next year will be the 10th anniversary.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I know.
I still remember when the first Iron Man came out.
Me too.
I was in 7th grade.
I was in 9th grade. And I remember we went to the Cinemark at Memorial City.
I know, yeah.
And
that's where I saw it too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
That's funny. What if we were in the same theater?
I doubt it.
Yeah, me too, but still, that would be weird.
It means it was meant to be, Alex. It was meant to be.
Anyway, I remember there were 2 friend groups that we were all planning to go see it, but for some reason we ended up splitting up, like as our friend group, we ended up splitting it up in like 2 sections. So I went with the first group to go with the first time, and then so we got done watching the movie, and I think the second movie started like in the middle of like when our movie started. So we got out of our movie and we were waiting around like in the food court for the rest of our friends to get done, and we were gonna like hang out in the mall, which, side note, I hate doing. Like, I hate going to the mall to begin with, but then going with a group of people just to hang out is like the most pointless thing.
You sound just like my brother, because he absolutely hates the mall.
I really dislike
the mall. If he goes with me or my mom, like, he still hates it, but he hates it a little bit less just because he's with us. But because, when you're in middle school and high school, that's kind of the thing, right? You want to hang out. I mean,
I don't know if it is anymore.
I don't know, because I haven't been in that situation. I have to ask Bruce, but when I was that age, the thing was to go to the mall and just hang out, because that's what all the cool kids did.
Right.
I don't know why, because I don't know why. It was weird to me.
Yeah.
I mean, whenever like my friends would go to the mall to hang out, I'd be okay with it because we actually did something. Because I remember one year I was in high school, they had a scavenger hunt in Memorial City Mall. Like, they planned it all out, so we all had to like run across the mall to find the clues.
That's pretty cool.
That was actually really fun. And so like the employees kind of noticed like all of us running, so they kind of like, they were in on it too. Like, yeah, we gotta go this way. Like, okay, cool.
Anyway, so back to my story. So, like I said, we were just hanging out. We were waiting for them to get out, and then the fire alarm went off.
Really?
I forget if it was just like the theater or like the whole mall. But anyway, so they evacuated the movie theater, and then we met up with our friends waiting for the alarm to stop. So they finally stopped the alarm. They let people back in, and we just walked back in the movie theater even though we didn't have tickets.
Nice.
We watched like the second half of Iron Man again.
Very nice. Yeah. Very nice.
That was a long tangent. So first trailer we watched was the final trailer for Wonder Woman. Overall, I thought this was a pretty good trailer. I dug it. Yeah, but I'm not hyped for this movie. I don't see myself going to go see it. I don't know, man. I can't imagine this movie being really, really good. Like, it might be okay, it might be pretty enjoyable, but I can't imagine it being anywhere near like an Avengers level of movie. And I know this kind of an unfair comparison because, like we talked about last week, the solo movies and the larger group movies are very different in what they're trying to accomplish.
Right.
So that's kind of an unfair comparison. So, I can't imagine this being something as good as like Winter Soldier, which is, in my opinion, one of the best MCU movies.
I definitely see where you're coming from. Wouldn't it be good, though, if it was at least okay or enjoyable by your standards?
Yeah, because of how little I've enjoyed the other
so,
DCU
that would
movies.
still be a step up and going in the right direction, I think.
Yeah, but I feel like I've been burned by the DC movies, and I'm going to wait. If it comes out and people say, yeah, this movie's super good, you have to see it, then maybe I'll consider going to see it in theaters, but more than likely I'll just wait for it to come out and I'll watch it on Redbox or whatever. What about you? You've said that you're pretty excited for this movie.
I am actually, yeah. So when I saw the trailer in theaters for Guardians, I was very happy about it. I don't know why. I like Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. I honestly think she was a great addition. So finally seeing Wonder Woman like doing her own thing, I'm very happy about. I think it's, not to get all socio-political and stuff, but it's nice to see female representation in the superhero genre with her own solo film.
No, I definitely agree with that, but I feel like
and also, like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just, I actually genuinely like Wonder Woman as a character and a comic book character because she's awesome. Mm-hmm. So that's why I was also excited to see this movie. Sorry, what were we going to say?
I read, actually, I think I did read the whole article, that DC, like the marketing department, they're not leaning into the fact that this is the first female superhero-led movie, which should be a really big deal, but they're just focusing on the origin story war aspect of it as opposed to the strong feminist themes that the movie should be having, which is kind of weird.
But at the same time, I think that's a good thing, because if you like focus too much on that, you're gonna be like, I think you can get to some of the people who are like, oh, you're shoving down this like stuff in our throat. Which, I mean, already, like, I'm glad from what we see in the trailer, and I hope it goes out throughout the movie, is, strong feminist, support. But, when it's, there's, like, that other side of the spectrum when you get too much into it, and everything they talk about always has to, like, kind of appease to that agenda.
That's true. I don't know. But, like, I don't think I've seen anything from DC saying this is the first major motion picture comic book movie featuring female superhero, unless you count Elektra, which I never saw.
I didn't see either.
Yeah, I think most people don't forget that it exists. Anyway, as far as this trailer, we get a reference to a character named Dr. Poison, whom I've never heard of before, period, and have not seen in any of the other trailers. And so now I'm kind of curious / confused as to who's the, like, quote, main bad guy, because there's her, and then this other, like, German, military commander, whatever his deal is.
And then Ares is going to be in the movie too.
Oh, really?
But I feel like Ares might be, I wonder, because a lot of times in media when Ares comes in, he's often the bad guy.
Right.
So, but we haven't seen anything from Ares, so it makes me wonder if they're either going to keep him like hidden, use him sporadically throughout the movie, or maybe he's not really a bad guy. He's just kind of doing his duty as a god of war.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I could see him being like, like a post-credit sequence, like, oh, Ares, you were behind this conflict. And he's like, yes, and now I'm powerful enough to break free of my chains or whatever.
Ares!
Yeah, exactly. That would be a cool twist. Yeah. We'll just have to see, I guess. I don't know. I feel like in the Injustice storyline, like, his part was so downplayed, but I actually really liked it because so for those who don't know, Superman takes over the world, basically. Like, he's trying to he and his regime are trying to subjugate the earth and reshape it in his view of a perfect society where crime doesn't exist. And so Ares allies himself with the
Resistant? No.
Insurgency.
Insurgency, yeah.
Because in his logic, even though yes, there's a war going on right now between these super powerful people, and that does give him power, because he draws his power from conflict. Yeah. He says that if Superman wins, which he probably will because he's Superman, that there will be no more war, there will be no more conflict, and so then he will have no more power. So he actually wants Superman to lose, which I thought was like a really cool twist. So you can kind of apply that same logic here. Is if so, yeah. The German forces win, then they could become the new superpower, and then there wouldn't be any more conflicts. I'm sure there would be, but you know what I'm saying. So yeah, I don't know. It looks okay. Like if this looks like it's up your alley, like don't let my doubts stop you from going to see it. This is just a personal thing. I'm gonna have to sit back and wait for reviews to come out before I make up my mind. So the second trailer we watched was for Blade Runner 2049. Now we've talked about Blade Runner a fair amount, including the sequel. I'm not a fan of the Blade Runner. In fact, I don't like Blade Runner, and I know that's pretty much heresy to say, but you know what? It's an opinion. If you want to be mad at me about it, that's your prerogative, but I also get to be not a fan of Blade Runner. So this movie looks like it would be more something that I would be more likely to find interesting, but I just am not convinced. I don't know. It just, because of my history with Blade Runner, the prospect of seeing another one, especially since Ridley Scott is involved with it, he was the director of the first one, it just doesn't, I don't know. I just don't see myself being
really wanting.
Yeah.
You're not enticed to see it.
Yeah.
Like if it's on maybe someday on TV, you might watch it.
Exactly.
But if you're not going to go out of your way to go watch this movie.
Yes. Thank you for helping me figure out what the hell I was trying to say.
Yeah. I mean, visually it looks good.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to lie. And it has the same guy who did Arrival as director, I think. What's his name? Diego Villanueva?
Something like that. Oh, Denis Villeneuve.
Why did I think Diego? I'm sorry, that was so like stereotypical. Denis Villeneuve, yeah. I haven't seen Blade Runner, so I can't really make an opinion. I just know that Harrison Ford was the protagonist in the first one. He's making an appearance in this one. So he was kind of pulling a Star Wars on us.
Or an Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
So. Well, no, he was like the main character in that one too. But I wouldn't really say he made an appearance in The Force Awakens. Like, he was a big part of the movie.
I wonder if they can hear that little fake cough. Try again.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, like Brandon said, visually looks really good. Story-wise, yeah. I mean,
can we do like the Tina Grown?
I'm just very sorry for that. Jared Leto is in it, which I think this is the first time that we saw him. He looks
creepy,
like Jared Leto.
Weird. Just without the Joker this time.
Yeah. And that's all I have to say about it. Again, like, this looks like it's your kind of movie. Awesome. If you're a huge fan of Blade Runner and you've been waiting for this sequel to come out for forever, I'm super happy for you. Just not really my thing. So then we watched the trailer for It. I don't know about you, but I got some really strong Stranger Things vibes. And it's not just because Mike is in the movie, which is very funny. But just the whole, like, small town, kids riding their bikes around, the sheriff thing. Like, I don't know. It was just really felt very reminiscent of Stranger Things to me. Which is not a bad thing, because Stranger Things is awesome. But I don't know how I feel about this movie either.
Yeah, neither do I. Again, because I haven't seen it.
Right.
So I can't make a judgment for that. I know it's very much a classic of scary movies or thrillers. But I don't know. I mean, I enjoy like what I saw in this trailer. I really liked how the kids are interacting with each other, just because it's kind of like how kids would interact, but it's also in a humorous way. It's not in an annoying way. And I have to give props for that because, you know, as a kid actor, it's hard to know where to go with.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I mean, I really don't know what to expect from this movie. I mean, it has the clown, it has the balloon. But on top of that, I really don't know what else to expect from it.
I don't know. I hope that they do something like original.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it would be very easy for them to fall into like classic horror tropes of, you know, kids are disappearing, they find this creepy clown, he just does weird things, and they find some way to defeat him. Like, I hope that it's more than that. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, yeah.
So, but yeah, I haven't seen the original It either, so I don't know what to expect. It looks like it could be good, but I'm also not a big fan of horror movies in general either, so I don't know if I'm going to see this one in theaters either.
Understandable.
Yeah. So then the last trailer that we watched was for a new TV show, a game show based off of the hot-selling mobile application Candy Crush. Now, have you ever played Candy Crush?
No, actually, you know what? I haven't.
Okay. I've played it once. I guess I don't really know what to call her. I used to be friends with this girl at one time. Her name was Andrea. And she played Candy Crush, and she knew that I liked video games, so she asked me to help her on this one level, and I tried it, and I don't think I beat it for her. And, you know, after that, I could have been like, ooh, Candy Crush, that was fun. I'm hooked now. I could have been one of those people, but fortunately, I wasn't. I managed to stay away from it, and I'm very glad I did, because I don't really get it, like, why that game of all games is the one that so many people are hooked on. Like, it's just a Bejeweled knockoff, as far as I can tell. Like, I don't think it does anything
Not really.
that, you know, really mixes up the formula, so I don't know. I don't get it, but apparently it's popular enough that they're making a game show based around it. And I know that sounds stupid, and yeah, it is pretty stupid, but it's also not like the most ridiculous concept for a game show that I've ever seen. Like, it, so they have these giant screens, and your goal is still to match the candies and clear the, I don't know if it's clear the screen or get enough points or whatever, but they like have people like suspended from these wires and make them do it. Or I saw one where this lady had a giant stick with like a finger on the end, and she had to like use that to drag it instead of using her hand. So it looks like they're mixing it up. It kind of almost kind of reminded me of The Price is Right. How, you know, like pretty much all of the games are the same, where you're trying to bid on, you know, trying to guess how much this one item is worth, but then you get a different number of guesses based on, you know, how well you do on this other little mini game first. So it kind of reminded me of that a little bit. So I'm not going to watch this, but I could see it being somewhat entertaining. You know, at least it's not just people sitting on their phones playing Candy Crush, like some sort of, I don't know, like Candy Crush tournament type of game where it's always just the same thing, you know what I mean?
Can
like,
you imagine that? That'd be terrible.
Yeah, it would be terrible. So yeah, I mean, I feel like they're doing more to make it a viable idea for a game show than that, but I don't know. Mario Lopez is the host, which I think is a good choice.
Yeah, I mean, he's so what were you gonna say?
He's very handsome, very charismatic, very energetic.
He's a cool guy.
Yeah. So I think that's a good choice.
Yeah.
But well, that's all the trailers for this week. Pretty dry, but
it wasn't that dry.
Yeah, I mean, we still managed to talk about it for a good 20 minutes. Of course. And not including our mall talk.
Oh, yeah.
Alrighty, so on to the news. And the first news item we have this week is, unfortunately, a sad one. It was announced this week that Powerless is going to be canceled after the first season. Now, I haven't gotten a chance to watch Powerless. I don't think you have either. I didn't really hear anything about it either, which I guess is probably the reason why it got canned. So I can't say too much about this as to like, oh, they should have done this, that would have made it better, or I wish we could have seen this, or oh, they were just getting good, like they were hitting their stride, could have picked up from there. Unfortunately, I can't make any of those judgments. All I can say is that based on what I saw before it launched, we talked about all those trailers and stuff, it looked like it was going to be fun, and I'm sad that it didn't make it, but I guess I'm also not too surprised.
Yeah.
They tried to stay in the comic book universe, but take it in a different direction with comedy, with no superheroes, and I guess that didn't pay off, which kind of, sends bad signals for, Marvel has talked about a couple of shows that they want to do that with. We talked about the one with Squirrel Girl. It's not Young Avengers. It's like Young... crap. You know what I mean,
I'm trying. It's just the problem is the titles. They're really simple, but you put any word into it and you're gonna get it wrong. Is it Warriors? Is it like?
I think it is. Yeah, New Warriors.
New Warriors. I
think that's what it is.
You see how hard it is to find it.
Well, yeah. I mean, the problem is that when the Marvel universe has been going on continuously for the last 70 years. There's only so many, adjectives and nouns that they can combine that will sound cool. Anyway, so that is going to be a much more lighthearted show than what we see with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or Daredevil, etc., etc. The difference there is that it's about superheroes, whereas Powerless was about civilians who lived in a superhero-filled world. But I kind of almost feel like that's more original than the New Warriors is, because, we get to see that perspective that we don't really see anywhere else. We get hints of it in, just for example, in Daredevil, we see how Foggy and Karen and Claire deal with being around Daredevil / Matt, how they have to cope with that reality. But, to get the perspective of people who are completely unattached. They're trying to make this world a better place by creating inventions that will help protect property and people. Yeah. Like, I feel like that was a good concept.
I think people just really didn't give it a chance.
Yeah.
Maybe just didn't have the right time, or maybe just the right outlet to come out on.
Yeah. Do you think so? We're getting Young Justice season 3, which the fans, have been crying for the last. When did Young Justice get canceled? It was like 2013.
A while back, yeah.
Yeah, so like ever since then, the fans have been asking for it to come back, and they finally did it, and they're bringing it to this new app. Maybe we could see Powerless come back.
That's very true
on that platform.
Because I would like to give it a chance.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen it yet, but. Like you said, it was a very interesting idea, very original to that genre.
Yeah,
and I would love to have seen that.
The other thing, the other side of this coin is that since we haven't seen it, maybe it was a pile of garbage and we don't know it.
Maybe, but I know only a couple of episodes have been seen so far. So,
but I mean, just based on the cast alone, we had Vanessa Hudgens, Alan Tudyk, whatever, and Danny Pudi. Like, that's a great cast right there, I think. So, I don't know, man. It's kind of lame, but it is what it is. All right, next news item here is that we got casting announcements for a New Mutants movie. I don't know if we've talked about New Mutants on here, but it's basically a younger class of X-Men. They live at the X-Mansion. They take classes at the Xavier Institute for Gifted Youngsters. And they're basically the B-Team X-Men. A lot of the characters from the New Mutants are, probably popular among comic book fans, but probably not very well known among the mainstream audience. I can't really think of any of those characters that you could ask, anyone on the street, and there's a good chance that they would know who you're talking about. So anyway, but the people that we got confirmed this week are Maisie Williams, who of course plays Arya Stark on Game of Thrones, and Anya Taylor-Joy, who was in the Vavitch last year. So anyway, Maisie Williams.
Hey, did we ever talk about that movie? Like, as a review?
You definitely talked about it when we did our top 5
Yeah.
movies that came out last year.
I don't ever remember if we ever, like, did it as, like, you know how we always, like, pick movies?
Right. No, we did. We
Okay.
did. Because I haven't seen it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just wondering.
Okay.
Because I was potentially thinking about it, but I'm like, I have, like, some movies right now up in the air. I'm like, what could I pick? We could do an animated, we could do a scary movie, we could do this. Sorry.
That's fine. Anyway, so Maisie Williams is going to be playing Wolfsbane, who her power is to basically turn into, well, it kind of varies depending on the incarnations. Sometimes it's like a dog, sometimes it's much more of a, like, basically a werewolf. I think they'll probably go the werewolf route, would be my guess for this incarnation, but who really knows? And then Anya Taylor-Joy.
That's funny, you know, Stark.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that, honestly. That is hilarious.
Direwolves.
Yeah. And then Anya Taylor-Joy is going to be a character called Magic. Frankly, I don't know anything about magic. I'm going to assume she has some sort of magical powers, and we'll leave it at that.
Very nice.
Yeah. I think Maisie Williams is a great actress. I don't know anything about this Anya character. Do you have anything to say?
Are you talking about the actress, or?
Yeah.
She's a very good actress. Especially, well, I mean, she looks younger than she is, but after seeing her performance in The Witch, and I know she had some stellar reviews for Split.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
That, you know, I'm really glad that she's getting some, I don't want to say, like, you know, more casting, but, you know, I'm glad she's, like, getting out there and doing more stuff, because she's a really, really good actress.
Yeah. So those are some cool announcements, I guess. The only other character that I know is in the New Mutants is Cannonball, but as we talked about way back at the beginning of the podcast, like one of the first episodes, is they took Cannonball's powers and gave them to Negasonic Teenage Warhead, who we saw in Deadpool. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Negasonic was in this New Mutants movie. Like, that would totally make sense, but
Probably a different actress, though.
You think so?
I think so.
Why?
Why? I don't know. It just kind of usually has been the way it's gone. Like, if they can get the same actress, like, I think that'd be cool.
Well, she's confirmed to return in Deadpool 2, isn't she?
Oh, I'm talking about for this.
Yeah. Well, I don't see why, because it's the same universe. Like, I don't see why they wouldn't just.
I don't
bring
know.
her
Just
over.
like, you know, like, just the way it goes sometimes. Just.
I mean, it's not impossible.
Yeah, I mean, because I don't think she's like, you know, that, you know, she could probably do it as a project. I just, you know, I'm just usually used to seeing that the character doesn't return as that same character, or the actor or actress doesn't return as that same character.
Maybe. I don't know. I guess we'll see.
And, like, and attached to media. Like, if it's for the movie, they'll do it for the movie. If it's for, like, a TV show, usually they won't do it.
Oh, this is a movie. Did I not say that?
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's a movie.
Oh, okay, then yeah, that's totally fine. Yeah, okay, my bad.
Okay, now I realize the confusion. Yeah. This is going to be a movie.
Because, you know, a lot of times with, you know, TV shows, they have a different actor or actress. For, like,
Right, yeah.
Even if it's a side character, they'll have a different person for that.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I think one notable example would be Coulson.
Yeah.
Who we saw in a few of the MCU movies before some stuff happened, and now he's on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
It always surprised me that how popular Coulson got. I think it just came probably when he started appearing in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because, you know, when he was in the movies, I thought, like, okay, he's like your average, you know, international spy organization.
He didn't really have much to do.
Not till the Avengers, and even then, like, they said he was the guy who kind of pulled him along. I'm like, that's not really true. In my opinion, I liked Coulson. I just because at first I thought it was a douche at first, just because he was kind of mean in the first one. Not mean, he was just kind of like, haha, I'm a government agent. Yeah, you gotta do what I say. And then after that, you kind of warm up to him, quote unquote, even though he's not there. And then I know in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., he's like beloved.
Yeah, his character's definitely changed a lot, but I do like Coulson.
Okay. I'm still excited to watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. this summer.
Yeah.
So, along with everything else I have to watch.
It's okay.
Can I do a recap of it?
Sure.
I'll have to watch. So, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., new stuff I have to watch.
Right.
Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Walking Dead season 6, maybe season 7. I think I told somebody I was gonna see Luther. That's a maybe. Hopefully I can try and rewatch all of Game of Thrones.
House of Cards.
House of Cards. That's what I'm sorry. Why did I blank on that one? House of Cards.
Better Call Saul.
Better Call Saul.
Do you have this written down anywhere? Because I feel like you should.
Somewhere.
Okay.
I don't know. It's just the list is very long.
Yeah,
Alex.
I know. No, I know.
I have to finish regular show because it ended
Oh yeah.
a couple of months ago. So yeah.
Okay, next news item here is that Ridley Scott said this week that they're planning 2 more sequels for Alien, not 4, as was originally stated. Now, I know I'm going to sound like a hypocrite here because just last week I was talking about, which one was it? I don't know. Like when we got the announcement about there's going to be 5 Fantastic Beast movies, how they were talking about a ton more Transformers movies, et cetera, et cetera. You know, we've been talking about that news trend more and more. You know, I've been talking about how they're, you know, letting the tail wag the dog and, you know, planning out these sequels before they even know how the first one's going to be received and all that. With Alien, I was kind of okay with it because I just, you know, I've said this before, I'll say it again. I just love that universe so much. The more I can get of it, the more lore they add to the xenomorphs, the happier I'll be. 2 more movies, that's great. I would have loved to have seen 4 more movies, but, you know, I know there's more Alien coming down the pipeline, so that's good enough for me. I'm sure this won't be the end of the franchise either. You know, I'd love to see another Alien vs. Predator movie. You know, they could reboot the movie. They could do a remake of the original Alien. Okay, I probably wouldn't like to see that one. But you know what I mean. Like, there's plenty of directions they could go. If they want to take a break after they do these 2 more movies, great. But I doubt this is the end of the franchise. So just knowing that there's going to be more in the future is good enough for me right now. Okay, moving on.
I mean, you said everything that basically I would say too.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we both love Alien. You know what? I'm okay too with the announcement because the thing about it, you can bring in new characters without having to worry about older characters, just as long as you respect what happened in the events of not necessarily the previous movies, but just like the events of the world in general. So at least I'm glad because even though I haven't, they don't explain everything that happened in Prometheus, they do acknowledge it in the prologue. Well, as much as we know so far, the movie still hasn't come out yet, but I'm glad they do acknowledge what happened beforehand. They didn't just kind of leave it up to your imagination.
Yeah,
which can sometimes be good, sometimes be bad.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, next news item here is that it was announced that there's going to be a movie made in China, released in China and everything, a live-action version of the classic video game Contra. So Contra is a 2D side-scrolling shoot-'em-up alien killing game. You play as this generic, guerrilla type of gunslinger dude. On the box art for the game, there's these knockoff versions of Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone. So that gives you an idea of the type of character he plays on this game. There's I've never played it myself, but I watched somebody play it a long time ago. I think there's 4 levels that just loop repeatedly. Basically there's okay, let me back up a little bit. So you're killing aliens, aliens land on Earth, and your job is to get into the mothership and kill them all, basically. So the first level is you're in this jungle, you have to get to the ship, you get inside, there's a couple levels inside the ship, then you beat the boss, and then ship blows up. After that happens, it just transitions back to the jungle, and you just do that over and over until you run out of lives. And for whatever reason, some Chinese film studio said, hey, let's do a live action movie of this. Which is very curious. Would not have expected that.
Yeah.
But I think it's cool. It's unlikely that this movie will be released in the West. But I see some potential for a decent movie. Or it could turn out to be like Battleship and be really terrible.
Did you see Battleship?
I did see Battleship.
I haven't seen Battleship.
Yeah, you're probably better off that way.
Isn't Rihanna in that?
Yeah, she is.
And Liam Neeson?
He is.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else to say about it. It's just very kind of a head scratcher. Yeah. I don't know.
The fact that you found this, I
Some
think, is
weird
more
stuff.
impressive too.
Yeah. Okay. Next, it was announced this week that there's going to be a new Psych movie coming out this December.
Did you ever see Psych?
Yeah, I love Psych.
I haven't seen it. Actually, the other day, I was talking with my friend about it, and he was really excited about it. And so he showed me a couple of clips from Psych.
Uh-huh.
And the only thing he showed me was the running gag that they have.
The pineapple?
What?
There's a pineapple in every episode.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I was talking about the fact that he gives Gus a different name each episode. And personally, I thought it was like the funniest thing.
Yeah.
Just because I like the dedication they kept to it, and also the names just get more and more outrageous. And then I found out that Gus is the same guy who was from Holes.
Yeah.
What's the guy's from Holes?
Dule Hill.
Yeah.
Oh, the character's name? Sam.
Sam. I can fix that. So I was like, oh, how have I not seen this show? So that's also on the list.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I started watching Psych. I'm not sure. I want to say around like season 4 or 5, so pretty far into it. And I actually haven't watched the last season either, unfortunately. Like, I think the last season started when I went to college, so I didn't have TV and I didn't get to watch it. So, like, I've seen relatively little of Psych. It's one of those things that, yeah, I definitely want to get around to watching the whole thing eventually. But yeah, it's a super funny show. So for those who don't know, the premise of the show is that there's the main character's name is Sean, and he is like almost a savant. He is very keenly aware of his surroundings. Like, he notices the little details that other people don't notice, that kind of thing. Kind of like Monk, but he doesn't have OCD. But he's a slacker, total jokester. So the first episode of Psych, which I actually have seen, he calls the police department. He sees something on the news about some murder. He calls the police department, tells them, hey, investigate this guy or look at this thing, and you'll find your killer or whatever. Or maybe it was a robbery. Anyway, he calls the police, gives them this tip about some crime, and then they bring him into the police station because they think that only a person who was involved in the crime would be able to
know what happened.
Yeah, exactly. But he convinces them that he's a psychic, and that's how he knew about this. So he uses his powers of observation which spoiler alert, that's what real life psychics do, is they use their powers of observation to deduce things about you, and then use that to make very vague general guesses about your life, and it's supposed to look all mystic and whatnot.
So that's interesting, because I didn't know he was a psychic or not.
Well, he's not really a psychic.
Yeah. But like he plays. Does he try and play that card, or does
yeah
he, okay.
Yeah, that's why it's called Psych. Is so he sets up this detective agency called the Psych Detective Agency, which is a double play because he is supposed to be the psychic, but he's not really a psychic, but he's really good at what he does.
That's clever. I like it.
Yeah. So then he works with the police as this consultant, and he's really funny. It's just I love that show. It's really clever and well written. So yeah, like I said, I haven't watched the final season of Psych. I don't know where it leaves off, so I don't know what this movie is going to be about. When I first saw that they were making a movie, I assumed that it was going to be like a theatrical release movie, like kind of a Kickstarter thing, like fan driven. But actually, this was announced by the network that the show was originally on, USA. And it's going to be on that channel, so it's a TV movie, 2-hour long type of deal, which is fine. It's just not quite as prestigious as like a theatrical release movie, but this is probably a better route to take now that I really think about it. So I'm excited.
Me too.
I doubt I'll have the time to watch the entirety of Psych before this movie comes out, so I probably won't watch it when it does come out. But yeah, it should be fun because I miss those characters. Okay, next thing here. So, a few weeks ago, I forget exactly when it was, but we talked about how Guillermo del Toro and Ron Perlman and some studio executives or whatever, they got together and they decided to not pursue Hellboy 3. And we were both really bummed about it. So I was... Out of the blue, they announced this week that they're doing a reboot of Hellboy, an R-rated reboot starring David Harbour, who played the sheriff from Stranger Things. Now, I love Hellboy. I liked all those characters that they had in the movie and everything. I'm just really confused.
Yeah, that's the thing I was thinking about, because when I heard this news, I thought I was going to be upset about it, but I'm just more like, what is going on?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
It's so weird because both Guillermo del Toro and Ron Perlman were so passionate about getting this movie
They
made.
want to do it.
Yeah. And so for them to say, like, no, you can't do this, but these other guys can, is just so bizarre.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense to me. So, yeah, like, I'm not upset about it, but I'm not happy about it either. Because it just seems like such a kick in the teeth to them.
Exactly.
And this isn't even, like, years later. Like, this is
literally
a few months.
Yeah.
So weird.
I don't know.
Yeah, so weird. But I don't know what else to say about it either.
I don't even know what to say, period.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on, because I feel like we're just going to get we're just going to sit here just, like, shaking our heads.
Or, just, like, staring into nothing right now.
Yeah. So
I don't even know what I'm looking at right now either.
Okay, last news item for this week is we found out that 5 characters from Once Upon a Time have announced that they are not returning if there's a next season. So Emma Swan, who is the main character, and then Snow White, Prince Charming, Henry, who is Snow White's grandson and Emma's son, and Belle. None of them are coming back for the next season, which is really, like, I don't care, I guess. I don't know. Like, I'm kind of over that show.
I've never even seen that show, so I can't make any judgments.
It's just really strange. Yeah, so my understanding is that they haven't actually confirmed that there's going to be another season. So the fact that 5 main characters are leaving the show probably signals to me that this would be a good time for them to end it.
How many seasons are there?
They're on season 6 right now.
Okay. So not too long, but still a pretty good amount of time.
Yeah.
If you said 13 or something, I thought, wow.
No.
Like,
this isn't Supernatural.
Or like It's Always Sunny.
Oh, yeah.
That's also another show I have to watch too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's... I don't know. Yeah, I think this is probably the end of the show. The fact that 5 of them are done with it is... Yeah. I don't know. It's also... But... yeah. I don't know what else to say. It's just... Yeah, I'm really at a loss for words. I can't add anything else, so let's stop talking about it. Okay, well, that brings us to our feature topic. So, I stole this feature topic idea straight from the Sincast. This was originally a listener question that somebody sent in, but of course we never get listener questions, so we're just gonna take it for our own and make it a little bit longer of a segment than they did to begin with. So the idea is to take a movie and then to gender swap all of the characters in the movie. So this is our fantasy cast. They can be... No, I actually didn't say this, Brandon. I probably should have said it before I told you about it. But don't have to be alive. Don't have to still be acting.
Oh, what the...
Okay, well, I should say all of my actors are still alive.
Yeah, mine too.
Okay, so just for the future, if we ever do this again,
okay.
keep that in mind. Okay. We're going to be doing the Avengers. I guess I should have led with that. So we're just gonna pretend like this is an alternate universe where the Marvel comics are all of the genders are swapped. So this is like a new MCU. So if there are any characters who are from already in our MCU, we can put them in a different role. Like I have one of my actors I did that with. Don't have to worry about budget for casting these actors because this isn't really happening. So basically just Dreamcast as these characters. So I did a really poor job of explaining this. Hopefully you understand the concept. Let's just get into it. First character, Captain America.
You go first.
All right. Now I should say that I struggled the most with this casting out of anybody else.
Okay.
But I finally landed on, well, I should say, I was really adamant about casting somebody who's American because it's Captain America. So I thought of a lot of really good options who were like British or a couple Canadians. So I was like, it was really hard for me to pick. I finally landed on Blake Lively.
Okay. Why?
Well, another thing I should say is that my main criteria for choosing my actors was hair color. Because I feel like it would be really weird to have like a brunette Captain America or a redheaded Iron Man.
I mean, they could dye their hair.
No, I know, but that was one of my main criteria.
Okay,
obviously,
that's fair.
I took their attitudes and their past performances into account too, but that was one of the things I landed on. So she's blonde, very good looking, very athletic. Her past performances I feel like have been very serious in the way that Captain America is serious. He's dedicated to what he does. He believes in what he fights for. Obviously he cracks some jokes every once in a while too, but for the most part, what we see of Captain America is, mission focused. And I feel like Blake Lively could do a good job with that.
So for mine, actually, I went with I don't know if she's British. I think she's English, but with Natalie Dormer.
Okay.
You know who that is, right?
Yeah.
If you guys don't know her, she is
Marjorie.
Why did I blink on the name? She's I guess at the time Queen Marjorie from Game of Thrones. And I picked her because one, I think given the chance, she could have she could be very much of an active role, because Captain America is very much a world that it's physically demanding. You have to put the work into it.
Yeah, definitely.
Not just the acting, but you have to put like the strength into it. You have to put the stamina. You don't have to do all your own stunts, but you have to at least like look the part of Captain America. And I think she could definitely have that chance if she was given it. I don't know how she's with accents. I don't know. I've never seen that. I think.
She was in a couple of the Hunger Games movies, like the last two, I think, and she does an American accent there. No, there's 4.
What is it? I mean, there are 3 books.
Yeah.
So I remember that, and I believed her character, and I think, given a major role, she could probably pull it off. And even though in the Hunger Games it's not the same, like her character is nowhere near like the same level as Captain America, she still has to be pretty active, especially in the last movie. So I definitely think that if in this world that we're making, she was given the role, I think it would be pretty suitable for her.
Yeah, I could see it. Again, like because of the hair color. Like I know she's actually blonde in real life, but because of Game of Thrones, I think of her as a redhead.
Yeah. Which is funny because the person who plays Cersei, right? Lena Headey. She's actually she has black hair.
Yeah.
So it's always like, what?
And Sophie Turner, who plays Sansa, she's blonde, but she's a redhead in the show.
And Emilia Clarke, she's a brunette, but she's blonde in the show.
So much hair dye.
I know, right?
Okay, second, of course, we have Iron Man.
This one was tough for me.
Yeah, this one was tough, but I feel like I got the perfect choice here. I went with Anna Kendrick.
Okay. I like it.
She is so Tony we see is just snarky, like all the time. Like that's basically all he does. Like obviously, yes, he flies around and he shoots people and everything, but he's constantly cracking jokes. Yeah. And that's what we see of Anna Kendrick in a lot of her roles. I think of her from Scott Pilgrim, like that's what she does. In the Twilight Saga, she's very sarcastic and stuff. What else has she been in?
She was in what's it called? Pitch Perfect.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that one, but yeah, she's very jokey in that one.
I surprisingly like those movies.
Okay.
I didn't think I would.
Even the second one?
Yeah, I even like the second one. I don't know why.
But we also know that she can do, serious roles because she was in the movie Up in the Air. She was very, very good in that one. And, we do see Tony have some serious moments, like when he flies the nuke into the wormhole. So yeah, I really like that casting choice.
Nice.
Yeah.
So my pick for this one is, you probably won't know her as well. Her name is Laura Pulver.
No.
Do you remember in Sherlock, Irene Adler?
Yes.
She's the actress that played Irene Adler. Not the movies with Robert Downey Jr.,
right,
but with Benedict Cumberbatch. And this was my first introduction with her. I've seen her in a couple of side other things, but I feel like she's very much appropriate for this because, again, I'm going with another English actor. English actress. Mm-hmm. But from what I saw in that whole hour and a half with Sherlock, I just got that feel of she has the charm, she has the wit, she knows how to be serious and emotional and vulnerable when the time calls for it, but at the same time she's also just she has the persona that Tony has when he can pull up that wall when it needs to be, but he can let people in when he wants to show who he really is. Mm-hmm. She's also she knows how to be active. She didn't have incredible fighting sequences in Sherlock, but
right.
She had her own little couple of minutes where she had to do something, and I don't know. I fell in love with the way she just she really knew the character and she knew how to portray it, and I see a lot of that in what it takes to be Tony Stark, mm-hmm. and I think she could very much pull that off. Again, the whole accent ordeal. I don't know how she is with an American accent, but I think with a little bit of work, she could, make it happen.
Or what if Iron Man was British?
Oh, very nice. So, I would want Laura Pulver to try that out.
Okay. All right. So third up, we've got Bruce Banner / the Hulk.
Okay.
So I went with Olivia Wilde.
Okay.
Now I know Olivia Wilde best from House. She played a character. I think her name was Remy. I don't remember. They called her 13 for the most of the show, which just really quickly, House needed a new member for his team, or several new members for his team, and so he gave them all numbers. And for whatever reason, they just ended up calling her 13 for the rest of the show.
Nice. Kind of sucks, but
yeah. Spoilers, I guess. But she ends up dating another one of the doctors on the team, Foreman.
Mm-hmm. The black guy?
Yeah. And even after they start dating, he still calls her 13. He'll call her...
Foreman calls her... Oh,
and I'm pretty sure she calls him Foreman. I think they sometimes call them each other by their first name, but I think for the most part, it's 13 and Foreman. So anyway, Bruce Banner. We see in the Avengers that he's very reserved. He's very cautious, very almost shy. I think reserved is probably a better word, because he's very keenly aware of if he gets set off, then he's going to Hulk out. Yeah. But we also see him being very brilliant. We see him, we see him working in the lab with Tony and everything. So, Olivia Wilde, I've seen her do the whole, sciencey, brainy thing. But she also, has a bit in House specifically, she has a bit of a temper, which, we see come out in Bruce Banner when he says, "Oh, I'm always angry." So I can just really vividly picture her, turning around and being like, "That's my secret, is I'm always angry," and just turning around and, turning into the Hulk and doing the whole smashing the space dragon worm thing. So yeah,
nice.
That's a good pick.
That's a good choice. I really like that.
Real quick, other thing I just thought of. Mark Ruffalo is considerably older than Olivia Wilde. He's almost 50. and she's like in her mid-30s, so that was like my one hang up,
Yeah.
but I think it'll still work. Anyway, go on.
So mine, it's a little bit of a weird choice, but I was very adamant that I wanted this person.
Okay.
Jenna Fisher.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, that seems like a weird choice.
Yes.
If you know her, she's Pam Beasley from The Office. And I know, like, already that's a really, really weird casting choice when you first hear it. But I think it'll be really good because she plays, in the first seasons of The Office, she plays that really well of the kind of quiet, timid character. But she has a lot to say, and she's very, very smart and very brilliant.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, I've seen her in other things, but most notably from The Office, like that character progression, even though it took a while throughout the seasons to evolve, it really does evolve. And I think already that gives her a pretty good sense of like how to work with a character who's pretty dynamic, because even though he's like, Bruce Banner is very much, you know, mild manner and very, he wants to be like a good person. When he reaches an emotional state, even when he's not in the Hulk state, like he can still be a very passionate person.
Right.
I think she does that very well, just especially from what you've seen with her portrayal as Pam, especially that one episode when she walks on the coals, and you know what I'm talking about, right?
I think so.
And then because Dwight tries to do it, he burns himself.
Yeah.
So she does it, and she doesn't get burned. So she gains the confidence to kind of speak up for herself and finally like tell everybody like of all the crap that they've given her. And I saw that, and I thought, when I was thinking about this whole idea thing, I think she just would be such a good pick for that, because she can play the quiet part, she can play the passionate part. She's also really funny too. So, and it's not like the ha funny, but the very clever like ha funny. So I don't know, I just fell in love with the idea of Jenna Fisher as Bruce Banner or the Hulk.
Yeah.
And
okay.
Especially like how he's portrayed in, you know, the Avenger movies. I think it'd be pretty good. She would fit very well in that.
Okay, I can see it. All right. Fourth pick here. Thor Odinson. I went with Keira Knightley.
You know what? That's mine too.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know about you. I went with her because, you know, she's British. That was, you know, pretty important, even though Chris Hemsworth isn't.
He's Australian.
Yeah, Liam Hemsworth isn't either. You know what I mean. But Thor does the whole British thing, right? Like, it's more of a British accent than an Australian accent. Like, I know Chris Hemsworth isn't like a very heavy stereotypical Australian accent, but I feel like he still leans more British as Thor than Australian. Anyway, so she's British. I don't know. I just figured that she does she's very action focused in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and so, you know, just take away the sword, put it in the hammer.
I think
kind
so
of the
too.
same thing.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
She can also be really regal and authoritative when she has to be, but she's also like funny and quirky.
Yeah,
and I think it's a perfect match for that too.
Yeah,
and she's also really attractive. She's married, but it's whatever. It's cool. But no, that's the person I first picked. I thought about maybe just to try and like shift people around, because I already have a lot of British and English actors and actresses, but no, I couldn't change it because I just loved Keira Knightley.
Yeah,
and also because she's genuinely a good actress too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so automatically it's a go-to for me.
Yeah, solid choice there.
Funny enough, she actually portrayed in the movie with Mark Ruffalo.
Which one?
I forgot what it was called, but she was in a movie with him.
Was it? I don't know. I'll look it up for next week. Okay, then we have Hawkeye. I went with Rachel McAdams.
Rachel McAdams? Okay.
Yeah, so this was the one I was talking about earlier, is she is now part of the MCU, as she was in Doctor Strange.
Oh, yeah.
But we're wiping that away, starting with clean slate here, and I went with her because for the most of the movie, Clint is under the control of Loki's scepter. Yeah. So, you know, we needed somebody who could do, you know, the bad guy thing. And as we saw in Mean Girls, she does she's not, you know, a super villain or anything, but she's an antagonist in that movie for sure.
I haven't seen Mean Girls, so I don't know.
God. Brandon, what are you doing?
You see?
Anyway, just take my word for it, she does the whole villain thing, or annoying. Yeah. So she does that. I feel like she can do. Hawkeye doesn't do a whole lot of action. A lot of his stuff is.
He does a lot of action, I think.
I don't know, because of the nature of his style of combat. A lot of it is him standing still, shooting the bow and arrow.
He
so it's,
jumped off a ledge, twisted around, shot a grappling arrow.
Look,
up.
I'm not saying that he
swung.
I'm not saying that he doesn't have action-heavy moments, but there's a lot of him standing still too.
Okay.
So I feel like she can. I feel like when it does call for action, I feel like she can do that. She looks like she's in good shape.
That's
and everything.
Enough, yeah. She looks like she's in good shape.
Yeah, and the whole when he wakes up after coming back to the good side, he's all he regrets what he did, and he feels. You know what I mean? I feel like she could do a good job with that too.
So, do you know who I picked for mine for Hawkeye?
I don't.
Daisy Ridley.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually had her as. I think I was considering having her as Loki.
Really?
Yeah.
I could see that.
But yeah, Daisy Ridley's a good choice. Yeah, man, you really were British heavy on
I don't know why. Just she's like we've seen with Ray. She knows how to do action.
Uh-huh.
She's. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how her archery skills are, but she could learn that. If Jennifer Lawrence and
Jeremy Renner.
I knew it was Jeremy. I didn't know his last name. Jeremy Renner can do it. I think Daisy Ridley can do it. Mm-hmm. She can pull it off. And even though she might not have a lot of screen time, like with acting portrayal, she might be on screen but not actually doing anything. Mm-hmm. I think she could just do what it calls for. And he has a lot of very smart one-liners and very like snidey chip-ins. Mm-hmm. But I think Daisy Ridley is really good. She has the wit that's needed for it, as we've seen with Ray. She can be emotional, but she can also be extremely, extremely funny and also very serious. And I don't know, I just would really love to see her in that role. Or in any MCU role, really.
Yeah.
But, she's with Star Wars. Totally fine with that. She doesn't have to come to the MCU. She can stay in Star Wars. So I'm cool with that.
Yeah. All right, so then rounding out our Avengers, we have Black Widow.
This one is very interesting. Who do you have?
I went with Christopher Hivju. I think that's how you would pronounce it. He plays Tormund on Game of Thrones.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is it because he's a redhead?
Yes.
Yeah. Which is funny because she's blonde.
Oh, in real life, yeah. So, yeah, like Brandon said, I needed redhead, and redheaded actors are pretty limited. I pulled up a list, and there was guys like Seth Green, Conan O'Brien wasn't on there, but when I think about redheaded actors, I think about Conan.
I think Conan would be a pretty good S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, don't you think?
Maybe. There was people like Donald Gleason was on there. I almost cast him. Rupert Grint I thought about. There was another one that was... Michael Fassbender, he's a redhead.
Oh really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they also have other people on there that were clearly not redheads. Benedict Cumberbatch, they kept trying to tell me he was a redhead, and I was like, no, you're crazy. But anyway, I went with him because in Game of Thrones, his style of combat is much more savage than we see with Black Widow, who's a lot more fluid with her movements. Mm-hmm. But given that we're swapping genders here, I feel like it makes more sense for the combat style to change because, not that her combat style is, more effeminate or anything, but it just makes more sense for a woman of her build to move in the way that she does. Mm-hmm. Whereas him, he's much bigger and more muscular. His very, staccato movements, I guess you would say, very purposeful attacks make more sense. But still a lot of action, some good one-liners. They in the first movie they do the whole romantic teasing with her and Hawkeye, which is really weird when we get to Age of Ultron.
Yeah, and you're like, nope, totally not anything like that.
But I think it worked.
That's a good choice. I like it.
Yeah.
So I chose Orlando Bloom for this one.
Okay.
Because what?
Nothing. I'm listening.
So one, the combat style kind of kicked in, and I
Okay.
thought, yeah, you're right. It has to change, but I see Black Widow just being a little bit more like flexible, or just, if not flexible, more of like swifter. And just seeing how he's done Legolas from Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit,
yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I think he could definitely it definitely suits him because he knows how that style of fighting on camera works. He's a pretty decent actor. I think he does what he does pretty well. From what we've seen from Legolas and Will Turner and some of the other stuff he's been in, which is a little bit lesser known, but I still think he's a pretty good suitable match for this. And also, I hate to say it because Black Widow is more than just, fighting and looking, attractive. Mm-hmm. She does have some character depth to her.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think Orlando Bloom could actually pull that out because we don't see it too much with Legolas. We get some of it in The Hobbit. We do get more of it with Will Turner, and I think that's where, the credentials kind of back him up for that. So that's why I think he's a pretty good match for me for Black Widow.
Okay. So, would you try and put Black Widow and Thor together in this movie?
See, that's what I was thinking about. I'm like, it's not entirely out of the question.
Yeah, I mean, she's tried to seduce almost everybody else on the team, so why not Thor?
Yeah, she's never done it with Thor, has she?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are
probably nay, woman.
So those are our main 6, but we got to do the rest of the cast, or the main cast at least. Mm-hmm. So next we have Nick Fury.
Okay, this one was fun to do.
Yeah, I agree.
This one was really fun.
So I'll do my runner-up here,
okay,
because I really like this choice. I feel like this would be a good choice too. But I almost went with Michelle Rodriguez.
Okay. That's interesting.
Now, not only does she have the whole Nick Fury attitude down, in pretty much every character that she does, but in Machete Kills, she plays a character with an eye patch.
Now, and a machine gun leg.
No, that's
oh wait, no, different character. Sorry.
Yeah. Now, I ended up not going with her, for one thing, because I like my other choice better, but I also feel like the whole eye patch thing was a little bit too on the nose. So, no, but I still think it would be really.
I think so.
Choice.
I think so. Yeah.
So cool. my ultimate choice was Angela Bassett.
Okay.
I went with an African American Nick Fury again here. I think originally in the comics he was white. Here, when they cast him in the MCU, I think it was the first time they made him African American.
In the Ultimate storyline, he's black.
Okay.
And he's actually modeled after Samuel L. Jackson.
Really?
They asked him. And then, I remember the first edition of the Ultimates. There's talking about, hey, who would, if we ever had a movie, done about us, who would play you? And he's like, well, Mr. Samuel L. Jackson, of course. I was like, oh, it's so meta.
So yeah, Angela Bassett. I was trying to look up what she's best known for, and I know her best from American Horror Story, and that's really the only thing that I found that would be almost universally known. I know you haven't watched it, but do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. So, I don't know. She just does the whole sassy black woman thing really well, and when you get down to it, that's kind of what Nick Fury does.
Yeah.
We see him be a little bit more, spy type in Winter Soldier, but we're just talking about Avengers here. So, just picturing her in that scene where he's talking to the World Security Council and he's given that it's a stupid ass decision to ignore it. I can just see her doing that, and I think it would play really, really well.
One of my favorite lines of all time. Yeah. I hope... not that I hope, but if I ever get fired and a group of people are talking to me about that, I want to say that I respect your decision, but given that's a stupid ass decision, it's I want someday where I can just use that line. It's so good. So my choice for Nick Fury is Taraji P. Henson. Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
So recently she's been most familiar with the show Empire, which comes on Fox. Haven't seen it. Or with the movie Hidden Figures, where she plays one of the 3 main protagonists. And I have to say, she's a fantastic actress. Absolutely amazing. She takes the role so well. She becomes a role. If you see who she is in Empire compared to Hidden Figures, totally different, you would not even guess that it's the same person. She looks the same, but
Right.
attitude-wise, habit-wise, personality-wise, it's just completely different. But still, like, even in Hidden Figures, she knows how to pull out that passion and, like, that, you know, the fury that a woman can have sometimes, just, like, pulls out sometimes. And she has some really good snarky one-liners sometimes. I thought, oh my god, that's absolutely fantastic. So I actually went more with her performance in Hidden Figures and Empire when I chose Nick Fury, because a lot of what Nick Fury can do, like when he gets in this kind of like rage moments, I can see from Empire, but just, you know, how he is most of the time, like he's a very like commanding, stoic figure, and you know, Taraji P. Henson's character in Hidden Figures, she progressively grows into that, and I see when she gets to that point, I see it perfectly as Nick Fury, and I think she'd just be a fantastic choice to have as him.
Yeah, I think that's a really good choice.
Thank you.
All right, so for Agent Coulson, I went with Carla Gugino.
I don't know who that is.
She's the mom from Spy Kids.
Okay.
Now, Coulson doesn't really do too much in this movie. You know, he has a man crush on Captain America, and then he dies. So this casting choice wasn't too important to me. I went with her because, I don't know, I could just see her doing so that's what that does line. Yeah. I can just, you know, when I think about Coulson in the Avengers, that's what I think of. And I just could see her laying there bleeding out and saying that for some reason.
So I went with Anne Hathaway.
Okay. I think I considered her, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Because what you say is right, but, you know, he does have his moments in the film.
Yeah.
I think Anne Hathaway could do a pretty good job of, like, just portraying that. You know, it's not the biggest role, but I think she'd be pretty appropriate. Both, you know, appearance-wise and attitude-wise. She could work Coulson pretty well.
All right, then we have Agent Hill.
Okay.
I chose Dylan McDermott.
Who's that?
He was in the first and second seasons of American Horror Story as well. Again, we really don't see much of Agent Hill, just doing kind of like what Brandon said with Nick Fury, being very commanding, you know, giving orders. You know, when the Loki's forces infiltrate the helicarrier, you know, she tells them to get down and everything. So I could just see him being that secret agent type of character.
Yeah. Okay. Totally. So I went with Josh Radnor.
The guy from How I Met Your Mother?
Who plays Ted.
Okay.
Because, like, I only knew the actress who plays Mary Hill, Kobe Smulders?
Yeah.
Kobe Smulders from that. And I thought that's such a random choice. But when I see her, she plays Hill so well.
Uh-huh.
And I just thought, maybe, you know, if we casted another person from How I Met Your Mother.
Know what? I didn't even think about that, but that is awesome.
Like, you know, that maybe it would totally work.
Yeah.
And, you know, I thought, who's the closest, like, attitude-wise at least, or, like, height-wise we could do? Because if we went with, because I
Jason Segel?
Yeah, I was gonna talk about Neil Patrick Harris first. Like, no, absolutely not. Like, not that he couldn't do it, just, like, I don't see him as
I couldn't take him seriously.
But yeah, if we do Jason Segel, like, he's like taller than Nick Fury. I don't think that would work. So I thought, you know, yeah, he's a pretty good in between. Let's go with him.
That's awesome.
I'm gonna tell you guys now. My choices from here on out are much more like kind of out there instead of like me like focusing on performances. I just kind of had fun with these casting decisions, which makes me feel bad because I feel like Alex put a lot more thought into it than I did.
It's fine. All right. So next up we have Loki.
Oh, this one was fun.
Really, I thought this one was really hard for me.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. But like you said, like I was trying to put a lot of thought into it. So I ended up going with Kate Beckinsale.
Nice.
Again, she's British, very good looking. She definitely has the whole action thing down, but we actually don't see Loki doing too much action in this movie. Not
until the end.
Yeah. But she has the regal, very domineering presence. Totally, she can do that. And Yeah, I think Kate Beckinsale is a really
I
good
think so too.
actress.
Yeah, very much.
And,
Yeah.
you know, no one could ever replace Tom Hiddleston as Loki. Like,
Absolutely
it's
not,
basically impossible at this point. But if there was a woman who could do it, I think Kate Beckinsale could do a really
That's
good
pretty
job.
good casting. I like that a lot. So I want to Lena Headey, actually.
I almost put her. Actually,
Really?
I actually had her written down, and then I was like, no, because yeah, she does the whole villain thing in Game of Thrones, but there's such different types of villains.
No, I agree, because with Loki, you at least root and you like Loki.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody. I know a couple of people who like Cersei, but I don't know anybody who actively really roots for Cersei. So I've seen her in some other things. Most notably, like I know her best. I think her other best known role is probably from 300. So she can do action packed stuff. That part's okay. She knows she can be a likable character, and I think she knows how to act. And I think she knew that for the role of Cersei, she had to be so unlikable.
Yeah.
And I think she can pull away from that. I think she can make her character likable. It's because it's Loki. He's not a like, what's the word for it? An irredeemable bad guy. Or he's not a bad guy that you can't connect with.
Yeah.
And even though you can connect with some things that Cersei do, you see Loki in probably a better light than Cersei.
Yeah.
So I think she's definitely good acting wise and action, choreography wise. Appearance wise, I think she would look perfect for Cersei. I mean, not for Loki, because she already has the black hair.
Uh-huh.
She knows how to be regal, and I'll be like, haha, I am so much superior than you, blah blah blah. But in those tender moments that Loki has, she also knows how to play that too.
That's true.
So I could definitely see her playing Loki.
Yeah. All right. So then we have Thanos. Now this one was hard just because Thanos does so little in this movie.
Yeah.
So I cheated a little bit, and I kind of was looking down the road to his post-credit sequence in Age of Ultron, where he gets out the gauntlet and he says, "Fine, I'll do it myself." Which I watched that last night when I was thinking about it. It's like, it's so cool.
I know, right?
So anyway, I ended up going with Lucy Lawless.
Okay.
So Lucy Lawless is probably best known as Xena, Warrior Princess, but she was in Ash vs. Evil Dead, which I talked about. I recently watched. I really liked her in that. She's also in the show that I'm currently watching, which I'm not going to spoil. Oh, I forgot to say, I didn't have any hot takes this week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Neither did I.
Yeah, it was...
I've been really busy.
Yeah.
I haven't had time. I rewatched a little bit of Bob's Burgers.
Oh, yeah.
Always a pleasure. Can never go wrong with Bob's Burgers.
Very true. But anyway, so I was just picturing her grabbing the gauntlet, saying that line, and I was like,
totally, yeah. So mine, that's a good choice. That's a really good choice.
Thanks.
For me, I chose Kate Blanchett.
Okay.
So even though she is going to be in Thor Ragnarok,
yeah,
I know her best from her role in Lord of the Rings and Hobbit as Galadriel.
Okay.
And when she plays that role, it's a very powerful role. It's strange because when she's on screen, she's very graceful, she's very beautiful. She's very, you're enticed by her and you just want to pay attention to her. But she also has an intimidating side to her too. And they play that really well in the two franchises. When there are moments where she kind of taps into that power that she has, and it just kind of unleashes this dark energy that you would not expect from an elf. Her voice gets super deep too. It's creepy. Like in The Hobbit, she looked like the Grudge. It was terrifying, and I think that's pretty I could see that working really well for a female version of Thanos.
Yeah.
Because she has to be powerful. She has to be strong. She has to be commanding, but she also has to be almost a quiet, powerful. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Especially because if you remember, even though we're jumping ahead of time, in Guardians of the Galaxy, all he does is sit in his throne. He just talks to Ronan. But just doing that, Ronan is immediately terrified of Thanos. And I think Kate Blanchett really knows how to work that very, very well with playing that powerful figure. So I think that would be a pretty decent choice.
Yeah. Quick alternative that I'll just mention.
Okay.
Uma Thurman.
Okay,
would
yeah,
do that
totally,
really
totally.
well
Yeah.
Because have you ever seen the Kill Bill movies?
No, I haven't, but I've seen her performance.
Yeah, just total badass in those movies.
Totally.
Yeah. All right. Then we have The Other.
This one was hard because I had no idea who to do for this one.
Yeah, I mean, this was just kind of a throwaway. I figured he played a big enough role in the movie that we needed to have him in there.
I mean, that's totally fair. I just don't know what it takes to, as an actor or an actress to be the other.
Yeah. I went with Dame Judi Dench.
Well, who's that again?
Have you seen the Daniel Craig James Bond movies?
Yes.
She plays M. Is that what they call her?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, his boss. Yeah. Just, I don't know. She has that very kind of gruff British voice. She can do the whole, he's really weird and kind of scary, not like in a threatening way, but just like in a creepy way. Mm-hmm. I just feel like she could do that really well.
Okay. I went with Tina Fey.
Okay.
That's why earlier before we recorded, I brought up Tina Fey.
Uh-huh.
So the other, he's covered in makeup prosthetics. You don't know anything about him. And I think this feels weird for making the argument for Tina Fey's performance, even though she's actually a pretty good actress. I've seen her in some other things. But because the character is so out there, and I know Tina Fey loves to go out there with her characters, she'd be pretty cool with it. I think she would have a lot of fun with playing the other. Yeah. It'd be especially when she touches Loki's face. Oh, yeah. I think she would have a lot of fun doing that.
Okay, so for Dr. Eric Selvig, I went with Noomi Rapace. I have no idea if that's how you pronounce it or not. She plays Elizabeth in Prometheus.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Now, these two actors, her and Stellan Skarsgård, who plays Dr. Selvig in the regular movies, they have almost nothing in common. I wanted to cast somebody Swedish because he's Swedish.
Yeah.
Just for that consistency.
She's a very good actress.
Yeah, no, she definitely is. But there's just very limited options on actresses from Sweden. So
I know what you mean.
I was kind of limited. It was between her or Alicia Vikander. And I just went with Noomi Rapace just because her name is fun to say. She definitely is a good actress. She's a lot younger than Stellan Skarsgård, which is kind of the knock against her. But I think she could do a fine job.
See, that's good because this one I had hard because I wanted to do that same criteria, but I just couldn't think of anybody. I went with Emma Thompson.
Okay.
Because she's... she plays that really knowledgeable figure very well. She's smart, she's intelligent, she's a little bit quirky sometimes, just depending on what the character calls for. But I think she could pull it off really well. Yeah,
Dr. Selvig, I guess we see more of that in Thor: The Dark World, but he is kind of quirky in this movie when he gets possessed and everything, and he's talking about how he can see the cosmos or whatever, and later on how he knew what he was doing and the staff and everything. That's very kind of out there acting, so yeah, I think that would be good. Okay, for Pepper Potts.
This one was fun.
I cast Alan Tudyk.
Nice! Good one.
Yeah. Just because she's just in that one scene, I think. Or no, I guess they cut to her during the battle and Tony's trying to call her.
She's watching the TV.
Yeah, so...
she totally ignores the phone. What the... I mean, yeah, okay, that makes sense, but still, he's calling you.
Yeah. So, she doesn't have too much to do in this movie, but I just really like Alan Tudyk. I think he's really funny. I think he could do a good job of, him when they're in Stark Tower and she's talking to Coulson and it's about the cellist. Yeah. And
there's a lot of chemistry right there.
Yeah. I just think he would do that really, really well.
I'm going with John Krasinski.
Of course you did.
Just because, Pepper always in the office, but I'm why not have an office character in there? And a lot of times Pepper has to be the straight man, in situations. She kind of gets into, she kind of gets herself involved a lot of times. But I think John Krasinski, he could be a pretty good, contrast or parallel to Pepper in that way. So... I don't know.
What's funny is I consider casting Emily Blunt for Iron Man.
Really?
Yeah, and they're married, so that
that's true. That's true.
All right, just a couple more picks here. So for Jarvis, I went with Emma Watson.
Nice. Very nice.
Again, the British voice really well. I think she has a very beautiful voice. She could give Tony the instructions that she needs for this movie. And then, later down the road in Age of Ultron, she would be Vision. I think she would be a great Vision.
Yeah, I think so. I went with Emilia Clarke.
Okay.
Yeah,
yeah, great pick.
Because, you know, again, with the voice, she has a fantastic voice. I remember specifically when she was in a Futurama episode.
Really?
And, yeah, she plays... You remember the episode where Zoidberg, he's trying to find a mate, he can't find anybody, and he comes across this girl who can't smell.
Ah, that's her?
That's her.
Oh, interesting.
And I'm like, oh my god, like, I knew the voice sounded familiar, but it was like such a pleasant voice that I just could not, you know, wrap my mind around it. And then I heard it like, yeah, you know, that'd be fantastic. So with Jarvis, I feel like now it's become a criteria, like, it has to be British or like some kind of European voice.
Yeah.
And I think she does that really well. And I think she could give like the snarky side of Jarvis really well. So that's why I also really liked Emma Watson, because when she's like really snarky and in your face about things, but she knows how to be it without like being like yelling at it. She's just gonna like make a side comment about it, like, yeah, but what do I know? Blah blah blah. And I think Emilia Clarke could do that really well. And same thing with Vision. I think she could work out with Vision really well too.
Yeah. All right. So final choice here is for Stan Lee. I went with Betty White.
You know what? If I had to pick, probably Betty White.
I think Betty White would do that perfectly.
Betty White is fantastic. Yeah, she's awesome.
She doesn't have the New York accent that Stan Lee does, but I don't think anybody has the New York accent that Stan Lee does.
Also, Betty White is freaking hilarious.
Yeah, and probably most importantly, they're both ancient.
Yeah, and still going strong.
Yeah, for sure.
It still boggles my mind that Betty White she hosted an episode of Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
And it was probably one of the most well-received episodes of the recent time.
Yeah. Well, that is our choices for gender-swapped casting of the Avengers. If you liked this segment, definitely let us know. If nobody thought it was fun, then we probably won't do it again. But even though it was challenging, I did find this pretty enjoyable.
I have to admit, I did. I was a little bit like, I don't know how people are going to react to it, but I liked it.
Yeah, so seriously, let us know if you thought this was fun, and we might do it again. And, give us suggestions, too. Because I know a couple other movies that we could probably do with this, but I need some suggestions. So, best way to send us a suggestion would be to write us an email. And that would be... our email address is abcpodcast92@gmail.com, and we would love to hear from you. And we do have a couple of listener emails. So, actually do the second one she sent in first. This is from Kenzie. She says, "Gentlemen, I have to go with Danger Duck for the most recent FFF."
Okay.
Ken's.
Fair enough.
Now, she doesn't give any reasoning. I would honestly be surprised if she watched Lunatics Unleashed. But, Kenzie's full of surprises, so who knows. Then the other email she sent was about episode 50. She says, "Finally got around to listening to episode 50 because I finally had time to listen and drink at the same time. My favorite parts have been the parts of speech bit on palindrome and hyperbole. Also, Alex's love letter to Star Wars. By the way, you can love Star Wars and Star Trek at the same time. Ask my mother. She's the OG Star-related franchise lover." Then she has a quote here, and I don't even remember this, but we were talking about Slurms Mackenzie, and apparently one of us said sperm, not slurm. I don't remember saying that in the episode, even when listening back to it.
Maybe we'll have to check it out, or maybe she's telling us. I don't know.
Yeah.
Either way, that's funny. That's really funny.
So she asks, "Who is this Slurms Mackenzie with my name?" Slurms Mackenzie is the mascot. Was the mascot of the Slurm Soda Corporation. He was contractually obligated to party 24/7, which took its toll on him, as one would imagine it would. And R.I.P. Slurms Mackenzie.
He's considered the ultimate party slug in the galaxy.
So she says, "I laughed/cried my way through this episode. Thanks for doing this. Much love, your favorite listener, Kenz." Thank you, Kenzie. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
So good.
Yeah. Can't wait for episode 100.
I feel like we might die on that episode. No lie, like... we're going to wake up the next morning and it's still going to go on. And like, what happens?
So if you want to send us an email telling us who you thought wanted a fanfic fight, tell us that you loved episode 50, tell us you loved this gender swap thing, etc., 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 you can always send us an email to abcpodcast92@gmail.com, and we would love to hear from you. But that brings us to our final segment for the week, which is, of course, the fanfic fights segment. So this week, we talked about this matchup a few weeks ago, kind of jokingly. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought that we could actually make a good argument out of this. So we're gonna have Kratos from God of War versus Maui from the movie Moana.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I know you want to do Kratos.
No, I could do either one.
Go Kratos.
All right.
You love Kratos.
I do love Kratos.
So who went first last time?
I went first.
Okay, so me go first. So Maui is a demigod from the movie Moana. And he is... actually, they never say how old he is he?
No.
We just know that he's like thousands of years old. And he was pretty much one of the people who helped, I guess, humanity from the start when they arrived on Earth. He did everything from bringing the sun from the sky to them, to giving them the waves and the trees and coconuts, from everything that he sings about, and you're welcome. I could sing it for you guys, but you'd probably die from ear hemorrhages, so I don't want to do that for you guys. Now, Maui, as we've seen throughout the movie, he's very resilient to damage. Like, when he was fighting against Tamatoa, this giant crab, he got smashed into the wall, he got like dragged on the floor, and the whole entirety of the cave, he got pinched, he got squeezed, and yeah, it hurt him, but nothing was produced that was life-threatening. So first of all, I think that gives credit to Maui's resistance and his durability. Second off, he's very, very creative with his fighting ability. So as you remember when he was fighting Taka during the last portion of the movie, he knew how to use his transformations, and he could make all of these really weird things happen. At first, like, you'd expect him to transform to one thing, he would change it to another one, and he would totally take the enemy off by surprise. He knows how to wheel that hook really well, so I think in a fight against Kratos, it'd be pretty good to like kind of snag onto the chains and whatnot. Now, this fight, I think, is going to be very much against Maui's favor, but I think in the end, he might be able to come out on top. Mostly just because of how weird he is. Like, I think maybe strength-wise, Kratos has him on the upper hand, because Kratos can pick up basically everything except for a chest. Kratos needs a little bit of help when he needs to open a chest. If you're a Game of War fan, or if you've seen anything from Game of War, God of War, Game of War. If you know anything about God of War, whenever you go to a chest and try to open it, you have to like press the circle button in order to help Kratos open the chest, which is weird because he has no problem like pushing up the hand of a titan or a god. I mean, granted, you still gotta help him out with that, but
it takes him like the same amount of effort to open a chest as it does to like lift the
hands of a titan that's crushing him. But that's beside the point. So I think like a fist fight, Maui and Kratos would be like, they could get on on pretty even terms, but overall I think Kratos would have the upper hand in strength. Durability, I think they're pretty evenly matched until Kratos can like maybe get the chains or the blades against him. But again, if it's just like full on punching, I think Maui can hold his own. And then even like weapon skills, Maui knows how to twirl and like use that fish hook to a great skill. And then Kratos does the same thing with his blades. Obviously Kratos has the upper advantage because he can use the blades from a longer distance. But I think Maui, he can twirl it pretty well where he can like deflect it. But even with all that, I do think that Kratos has an upper hand on him. But I think what comes out the best on Maui's side is that Maui is just unpredictable. He's, like I said, he's very creative with the way he does things. And in his transformations, I think he would have the upper hand against Kratos. Now, Kratos is on... Oh my gosh, what has Kratos not done? I think that's just a better way to say it. But you know what? He's been defeated in his moments, and I think
I'll tell you what Kratos hasn't done. He hasn't killed an eel and buried its guts, and it didn't sprout a tree
and grow coconuts.
Exactly.
So I'm saying, like, also, if nothing happens, he can just get Kratos to like him just from that song. He can sing. That was actually my final point. He could sing "You're Welcome," and then the fight just ends, and then they just like have a sing along, and then Kratos like, you know what? I like you. I won't do anything to you. You're cool.
So, for the sake of fairness, I think that I will limit Kratos to just the Blades of Chaos. You know, if I brought in like the Barbarian Hammer and the Spear of Destiny and the Claws of Hades and so on and so forth, I feel like that would be, well, first of all, we'd be here forever while I listed all the attributes of each of those weapons, but also I feel like it would be unfair. So I'll just limit him to the Blades of Chaos, but Kratos definitely wins this fight. For one thing, he's got the range over Maui, like Brandon said. Another thing that Brandon casually left out is that the hook, Maui's hook, is susceptible to damage. It cracks, and if it breaks, then he loses his shape-shifting powers. So, he's definitely got to watch how many hits he blocks with his hook before it's done for. And if the hook is done for, then Maui's basically done for. You could say that Maui has the transformation thing, he can fly and have that advantage, but Kratos has the wings of Icarus, so he can fly too, basically. So, it's pretty, evens things up a little bit. There was something else I was going to say.
I do have to say that the Blades of Athena that he had in the second game were damaged in the third one.
Okay.
So the blades are susceptible to damage too.
Okay. Two more points I guess I'll make. One is we know that Maui can do anything but float. So if Kratos can throw him into the water, then it's game over Maui, And then the last thing.
I'm pretty sure he knows how to swim, but okay.
No, he says in the song he can't. He just sinks because he's so muscular. He says it in the song, Brandon. Okay. Final point is that if Maui does do the singing and somehow it does win Kratos over to his side, which I'm not 100% convinced about, but I'm willing to at least entertain it as a possibility. Okay. But even if that happened, that would be a tie. That wouldn't really be Maui winning. Which, sure, if you get into battle with Kratos and you walk away still alive, I would call that a victory in a sense, but I wouldn't call it an overall victory. I would say it would be
a victory for Maui in the sense that he gets another, fan of his. And plus, do you remember his daughter? His daughter would play her flute all the time for Kratos' daughter, Calliope. And I think, I think deep down Kratos really likes music. So I have to say, if Maui sings, how can you not sing along to that?
Maybe.
You're welcome.
Well, those are our arguments, but what really matters is what you think. So let us know who you thought by sending us an email. And one last time, that is abcpodcast92@gmail.com. So before we get out of here, final reminder, we're going to be talking about the movie Memento on our next episode. So make sure we should be recording next week. Graduation's next weekend, right? Yeah, we're going to have to figure something out, but should happen. But yeah, so watch it. Let us know what you thought. Send us an email. And get ready to hear us talk all about it when we record our next episode. Hopefully next week. But that's it. So you can follow me on Twitter @AtariAlex. You can find Brandon on Twitter by going to my bio, and his username is in there. So that's the easiest way to get to find him. While you're there, you can also find links to our YouTube and iTunes pages, and you can subscribe to both so that you never miss an episode. We'd also really appreciate it if you could leave us a review on iTunes so we can know how to improve. We always want to make things better for you, the lovely listener. But that is it for our show. So thank you all very much for listening, and we will catch you all next week.
Bye.